Welcome, everybody. Welcome to councillors and staff and to those joining us online and in the public gallery today. Please note that today's meeting is being live streamed and can be viewed by the general public via Council's Facebook page and later uploaded to Council's website. By participating in and addressing those present at today's meeting, you consent to any information you disclose, including any personal information or sensitive information being recorded and uploaded to the website. I invite Councillor Murray to read our new opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. As councillors, we recognise the responsibilities we carry and are guided by the values of service, respect and integrity. Good decision-making requires transparency, accountability and behaviours that uphold the trust placed in us as elected representatives of the community we serve.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Excuse me, I'll invite Councillor Ryan to please read our acknowledgement of country.
Thanks. Through you, Mayor, we acknowledge the Karay people as the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here in the gallery and watching on the live.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ryan. I will note that we have an apology today for our Director of Environment, Economy and Place, Ms. Jodie McNamara, and I welcome our Acting Director of Environment, Economy and Place, Mr. Darby Lee, just today. We have no apologies from councillors today. I will now ask councillors to declare any conflicts of interest that they may have in items on today's agenda. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I'd like to declare an item in the confidential agenda, item 6.1, which relates to the Port Fairy swimming pool. I have two close family members on that committee and another close family member that's employed by Belfast Aquatics. So I will remove myself from discussion and decision making.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. We'll move now to the minutes of the ordinary council meeting for September 23. Is there any discussion, first of all, on the minutes? It's comfortable, in which case I'll call for a mover that we confirm they are a true and accurate record. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Seconded. Councillor Taylor. Thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thanks, that is carried. We have a public participant today, and I will call for a motion to suspend standing orders so that we can hear our public participant. Thank you, Councillor Murray. Seconded, Councillor Lockett. All those in favour? Carried, 7-0. I will now invite Mr. Edward Donnellan to come forward and join us at the table. And you have 5 minutes, Mr. Donnellan, and we'll give you a warning at the 5-minute mark. That's okay with you.
4 minutes.
Sorry, the 4-minute mark, that is. Thank you, Councillor Dukas. The floor is yours.
Mayor Foster and councillors, the CEO, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to your meeting. I note and support your acknowledgement of country, and I think that's particularly relevant given that what we're discussing is works on country. I'm speaking on behalf of the Campbell Street Residents Group regarding a petition that we have submitted to Council about future development works in Campbell Street in Port Fairy. Council is currently considering works channelling curbs, drainage footpaths in Campbell Street from Union Street westwards towards Albert Street, as has been mentioned in previous correspondence with residents. And essentially we say no. The petition presented to Council contains the signatures of more than 90 residents, and the petitioners, including directly affected residents, wish to make it known to Council that we don't support these development works. We feel they're unnecessary and unwarranted expense and an activity that will have a deleterious effect on the heritage character of our area. An upgrade of Campbell Street is unnecessary in our minds. Part of the original survey, Atkinson survey of 1843, developed in the 1950s, a sealed road with wide grass verges, good sound base of Tower Hill scoria, together with surrounding sandy soil. It doesn't flood after rain, unlike many other parts of Port Fairy, but drains quite well. And potholes in Campbell Street are pretty uncommon. There is a footpath along the northern side, although most people prefer to walk along the grass verge on the southern side. Cost-wise, development of Campbell Street, we think, is an unwarranted significant drain on the public purse. While grants may be obtained from government when these things are undertaken, it still involves a lot of work of council officers, planners, engineers, managers, etc., which entails the expenditure of council monies, which is essentially our rates. And we think there need to be very good reasons for undertaking something like that, and we don't think they exist here. And heritage is a significant consideration for us. It's one of the main reasons that people visit or choose to live in Port Fairy, and it's also part of the reason why Port Fairy has won accolades such as the world's most livable town and top small tourism town, etc. It's perhaps an aesthetic that can be difficult to define, but as well as elements like history and traditions, it's based on components of the natural and built environment, like building styles and street layouts. So it's a unique sense of the place, the look and the feel of the town. It's easily damaged, and once gone, it's lost forever. And Port Fairy quite rightly has strong heritage controls, with more than 50 buildings with National Trust protection. And there are good reasons why landowners have to, who want to do modifications, have to comply with various overlays and so forth to protect that heritage character. And we think that council should be motivated by a similar sort of coverage. No doubt councillors are familiar with the Port Fairy Heritage Citations of 2015, which form the basis of our heritage controls in Port Fairy. That heritage citation states in part, the Campbell Street precinct has a very high degree of integrity and is in very good condition. And further, that low scale and open nature of the streetscape are critical for its appreciation. The report further describes the country town quality arising from its wide streets and the absence of curbs and channel. Perhaps an analysis that would be fitting for a lot of Port Fairy. And I think it'd be very easy to destroy that unique character by turning it into a sterile, characterless landscape of tar and cement, like Donnybrook or Hoppers Crossing, which I know. So on a broader scale, we think what's planned for Campbell Street is perhaps a bit of a test case for Port Fairy in general. And where development is required, genuinely, surely we can engineer better and more sensitive solutions than curbs, channels, concrete footpaths.
That's 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Was that the end of your presentation, then?
I was just going to conclude, but that's enough. So
thank you.
We request the Shire, petition the Shire to please not proceed with these works. And thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Donald. And we'll open it up for questions if you're comfortable to take questions.
I can hear.
Yeah, we'll note that. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for your presentation. My question is, how did you consult the community? Because this is a phenomenal kind of example of sometimes we get petitions and it might be from people from Melbourne or not within the Shire. This is almost every resident in that area. So I commend you on the consultation you've done with the community, because it's something obviously we're very passionate about at council, and you've done a very good job to get things like everyone in that area to sign it. So I'll ask how you did that.
It wasn't hard. Port Fair, the Campbell Street Residents Group formed a couple of years ago with the initiation of the skate park project. And I guess there were a lot of people who have been talking about what was going on, so it was just word of mouth talking that. I'd have to say we had particular foci of interest around East Beach, Wishart Street and Campbell Street, where there have been recent developments. We could have got a lot more signatures if we kept going for longer. A lot of people away in the winter and so forth. So it was just word of mouth talking to people, and do you want us to go ahead or not? So.
Follow up, if I may. On the skate and play that's been quite well or very well received in our community, how is that kind of obviously a big change to the area? How has that kind of gone for yourself and the other residents? It's kind of related, if that's okay. Just since you're here, thought I'd...
Well, as we know, Councillor Lockett, we've had some discussions before. I think the general consensus is it's a great facility in the wrong location, and particularly people are pretty disgusted by what's happened to Campbell Street, the widening of Campbell Street, the footpath and so forth. Being told that this was going to happen further on got people fairly upset. So yeah, I don't want to digress into the skate park, and it's nice and wide nice to have Campbell Street widened near the skate park. Most easier for the ambulances to pick up the people who are injured, as has happened, but I won't go there.
Councillor Taylor, then I'll come to you, Councillor.
Thank you. Mr. Donlan, I was just going to ask you, you mentioned that a lot of people walk on the grass verge on the southern side of the street.
Yep.
So would you lose that if it was to go to curb and channel?
Well, yeah, you'd obviously lose it, because what has been proposed and what's happened down the rest of Campbell Street are much wider than normal concrete footpath. So you would lose the grass verge, but more we think it's unnecessary. Well, you don't need it. People don't have any problem. The kids from the school that go up and down to Aquarina walk on our southern side of the street. Most people choose to walk there rather than on the footpath that's provided. So yeah, I guess we don't see the need.
Thank you.
Councillor Murray.
Thank you, through you. I did have a question that was going to be about flooding, but you mentioned that flooding isn't really an issue, because I know the sort of bottom end of Campbell Street near the new skate and play development used to flood quite a bit, which seems to have been mitigated. I guess the second thing that I guess just as a parent that I'm concerned about is there are a lot of kids that sort of walk between the two schools, or between the school and the new skate and play from Consolidated in particular. However, in saying all of that, I applaud you and the Campbell Street Residents Group for, first of all, knowing that something is going to be happening in your area, because so often we plan things and we have strategic plans, and then the community have absolutely no idea what's happening. And for doing your own consultation, for talking with your residents and deciding how you want your part of Moyne to look and feel. And I think I'm grateful for all of the groundwork that you've done. And yeah, thanks for bringing this petition and speaking to that.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Are there any other questions? Councillor Dukas.
Yeah, thank you. Can you tell me what consultation the council has had with the local community?
Where to go with this? We've had 2 or 3 meetings with council staff from Campbell Street Residents Group regarding the skate park and regarding things around the skate park. We haven't had any actual face-to-face consultation regarding the extension of this. We're aware of it by word of mouth, that it was planned to happen. And so we raised it with council staff. We've had a letter that was distributed pretty widely to residents in southern Port Fairy. If I can paraphrase it, saying that the planning and funding had not been finalised at this stage, and when it was, council would consult with community, which, excuse me, it seemed to me like we were being told when we've decided we'll tell you what we're doing. So we thought We've also were told in several of those meetings, oh, people really want this. So we got a bit miffed about that because we can't find people that did want it. Maybe, there obviously will be some. We're told the school want it. We have spoke to the school principal, chairman of council. No, it didn't come from us. We'd like some more car parks up there, but currently there's parallel parking along Campbell Street, and what's proposed is parallel parking, so we can't see how that would provide more seats. So, yeah, that's sort of community consultation.
Very little community consultation until you started making noises.
I don't
Take that as a yes.
integrate council officers, but we've had, I think, one letter which was talking about. We had a meeting with the CEO and I think the mayor, and we talked about various issues around the skate park, including this. And we got a letter which had one paragraph in 2 pages about this. But the thing that's really gingered people up is we really love the unique character of Port Fairy, particularly Campbell Street, and people were very passionate about Russell Clark Reserve. And okay, skate parks there, that's gone, but that really aroused people, and people started to get a bit ticked off about it, and that's why they're interested in. Can't mean they're extending it up here. Why, that sort of thing.
Are there any final questions from councillors? No, if not, Mr. Dolan, thank you very much for your presentation today. We're grateful to you for coming along. You're welcome to remain in the gallery if you'd like to. So,
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
thank you. Yeah, Councillor Murray.
So sorry, this is out of the process, but I just have a question, and more so, I guess, for yourself. What happens now with the petition?
We will address that in the next time.
In the next item.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Donovan. I'll call for a motion to resume standing orders. Thank you, Councillor Lockett, seconded Councillor Ryan. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Because we have had a presentation from Mr. Donovan, I'll call for a motion to hear item 2.2. Next on the agenda, Councillor Lockett, seconded please, Councillor Ryan. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. So we will move straight to item 2.2, the petition from Campbell Street residents in Port Fairy. And I'll call upon our Acting Director of Assets and Community, Ms. Simone Robinson, to please introduce this item for us.
Thank you. Councillors, this report provides details of the receipt of an e-petition by the Campbell Street Port Fairy residents group. The petition requests that council does not proceed with development works, including
Excuse me, sorry, Ms. Robinson, can we ask you to elevate your voice if you can, please?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Including curb and channel, drainage and footpath installation in Campbell Street between Union and Albert Street. So the recommendation is there for councillors. This petition can be considered in line with clause 67(7) of the governance rules and be referred to the CEO as an operational matter should councillors determine that appropriate.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Do we have questions? Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions just regarding process? I'm aware of the process, but I think it's important to explain it for the community that today we won't be debating. Just to clarify that today we're not debating is that true?
Correct. And Mr. Everstein, perhaps if we just get that clarified with you from a governance perspective.
Yes, Mayor, that's correct. Yes.
So it'll be tabled and then we'll discuss it
at a future meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the officer's recommendation, part 2, says refer the matter to the Chief Executive Officer for consideration. That doesn't sound to me like it's coming to the council for consideration. That sounds like it's a foregone conclusion that the CEO is going to take over.
Are you able to clarify that, Mr. Everstein?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Dukas. So what we'll do from here, if council supports and votes for the officer recommendation, The intent would be to consider the petition and all the factors regarding the works on Campbell Street and bring that back through a council workshop as a next step for further consultation with council, having engaged with the Campbell Street residents and other key stakeholders. So we'll take up the consultation as the next step and then bring our recommendation to council orders via council workshop.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Everstein. Is that, you comfortable?
That's a little bit.
Yes.
So on page 176, it talks about, given that the petition is related to an operational matter, and we haven't even discussed it, who in the Shire decided it was an operational matter to bypass the councillors?
Mr. Everstein, I'm not sure if we're able to, it's a bit of a rhetorical question, but.
It's not rhetorical. I want to know who's calling the shots. That's all.
Through you, Mayor. So really, I suppose the best way to consider this matter is one that's by exception. So curb and channel work happens across the Shire, typically unchallenged. So that, a petition and a presentation has now been made by local residents. This now becomes the exception to that rule that happens, most days across the Shire. So we'll treat that accordingly. So that'll give us an opportunity now to conduct that consultation, as we would, should something similar happen elsewhere across the Shire.
Okay, and just to reassure Councillor Dukas, it will come back to council discussion before decisions
Correct.
are made.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Murray.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Following on from Councillor Dukas's, I wonder if the officer recommendation, I think, needs to be tightened up a little bit about that. In terms of item 2, refer the matter to Chief Executive Officer for consideration, to then be considered at a future council meeting, might potentially just remove any grey area there.
Sure, you're welcome to move any motion you wish to move, Councillor Murray. So is that, would you like to move a motion along those lines?
I would, thank you. Would you like me to read it out a bit clearer?
Please.
I would propose a motion, officer recommendation that councillors resolve to receive the submission of an e-petition related to Campbell Street Port Fairy, and 2, refer the matter to the Chief Executive Officer for consideration, to be brought back and discussed at a future council.
Okay, so that's do we have a seconder to that? Councillor Ross?
Quite happy. It's good to see that people of Campbell Street are so passionate about looking at Port Fairy. I'm quite happy to support councillors.
So, look, I'm happy with that, but does anybody know how we handle petitions? Don't we take the petition, lay it on the table, and it's discussed at a future workshop? There is no ambiguity about that. It must be discussed. So I don't know why we need a part 2. But leave it there. That's good. I'm glad you.
So it's up to you.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for you to have it in there because that means you're concentrating on the subject. Right. So I've still have another question.
Dukas?
Community consultation. From what I've heard today, until the local residents found out, I don't know how, but they found out, made inquiries, there was no community consultation with these residents by the Shire.
Ms Robinson, are you able to respond to that one?
Thank you. Without getting into this petition, the details of this petition, which we're not here to do today, that the works are proposed works that were within a development plan for Campbell Street. There is currently no budget for those works, and there's no design works done for any drainage in Campbell Street. So if there was any consideration to moving forward with these works, there would absolutely have to be community consultation.
Right, so yes, thank you, Mr. Robinson. So it wasn't in the budget to be done?
Through you, Mayor, there's no works currently budgeted.
Right, so if there's no works budgeted, there's no money budgeted. So who come up with this idea that they want to put curb and channel and do the road up? Where did that come from? Who who in the office decided that they're going to do this because they think it's a great idea? And they did it without even consulting with the community.
Ms Robinson?
Sorry, but I don't like this at all. I reckon this is a funny bit of business.
Ms Robinson?
Through you, Mayor, there was plans and considerations through the development of Campbell Street and the skate and play precinct. This was, I'm sorry, I don't know the full background to it, but this was considered through those plans. It was only proposed and a consideration around thinking about the street as a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Because we have got a motion on the table that's been moved and seconded. No further questions. So Councillor Murray as the mover.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. And Councillor Ross as the seconder. Any other councillor who wished to speak for or against? Councillor Ryan?
Through you, Mayor, I just wanted to commend the Campbell Street Residents Group for showing such a strong interest in this project. Well, not quite project yet, with the detail that Ms Robertson just went through. The community engagement efforts are such a positive sign for our community that they can rally together to show a united voice regarding council matters, and I encourage any other community members to engage in matters that impact them. It's also pleasing to see a conforming petition, as we've seen non-conforming petitions in the past relating to other projects. So it's great to see that our residents follow the prescribed process in matters such as this. So for this reason, I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Any other councillors who'd like to speak for or against? Councillor Lockett?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, similar to Councillor Ryan, I speak in, support of tabling the petition, and congratulate, Mr. Donovan and the residents group. 92 individuals that are, you see petitions that are people from Peru and wherever, they're not very closely linked to the area, but this is very specific to the area, which is great to see. So thank you for all your efforts and for presenting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Any other councillors? If not, I'll return to you as the mover. Would you like to sum up, Councillor Murray?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I think this is really highlighted maybe some faults within our community consultation, and I again thank you for bringing that to our attention because it's important. It's your community. It's important that we get it right. So thank you for coming, and I'm happy to accept this petition with that slight amendment to item 2, and we'll discuss it at a future date. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Let's put item 2.2 to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 7-0. Thank you, councillors. We'll now return to item 2.1, the service station application for Hopkins Highway, Mortlake. And I'll invite our Acting Director of Environment, Economy and Place, Mr. Lee, to step us through this particular report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll hand directly to our Manager of Environment, Energy and Development Services to present the officer's report for this application to the councillors.
Through you, Mayor. Councillors, this report outlines a recommendation relating to planning application PL 096 for the use and development of a service station, including internally illuminated business signage and creation of access to a transport zone road on the Hopkins Highway, Mortlake. The officer's recommendation is to issue a notice of decision to grant the permit. The conditions are outlined in the recommendation. This application has been subject to 5 objections and a petition with 282 signatories. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Questions?
Thank you.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Miller, just interested to know the date of the petition. Was that a recent petition?
Through you, Mayor. It was received last year. The petition is included in the attachments. I believe it was tabled at council in July last year, July or August last year. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillors?
Yeah,
Councillor
thank you.
Dukas.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm reading the conditions. I don't know if they should be a condition in here or not, but in the report, it talks about mechanical work. So I'm thinking, repairing cars, trucks, tractors, and maybe selling tyres as well. Does there have to be anything in the planning permit for that, or because it's a service station, if there's enough space or provision made for that, they can do it?
If you've got a specific condition you're referring to, we can discuss that, but there would be some uses that are ancillary to a service station that wouldn't.
That's the word that was in the report, right?
Yeah.
So they can generally do that. They don't need anything special in the conditions for that.
Mayor, it depends on the scale of what that use is on the actual land.
And just repairing a motor car or fixing a flat tyre is no big deal. Well, it is if you've got the flat tyre.
I was going to say.
Any other questions? Councillor Taylor.
Mayor, just regarding the objections, since these the agenda became available, has there been any contact to council from any of the Mortlake residents who objected initially to the proposal?
Through you, Mayor, I'm not aware of any direct contact, but the objectors and the lead petitioner were advised by email when the agenda was published that this item was coming today.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If there are none, we do have a detailed officer recommendation before us. I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Dukas, and a seconder, Councillor Murray. Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mayor. As you said, it's a detailed officer's recommendation. Whether the community thinks it's good or bad for the area is debatable, but being a service station and people saying it might be detrimental to other businesses, that's not a legitimate reason to knock back a planning application. It's well detailed. It's right next to the Elders Rural Store. It'd be left up to community to see whether it's a success or not. It's not up to me to say whether it is or isn't. I'm just happy that someone's having a good old go and willing to put their money where their mouth is. So I wish them well, as I do any other business. So yeah, congratulations, and let's see what happens.
Thanks, Councillor Dukas. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Echoing a lot of what Councillor Dukas said, it's we don't actually have any valid reason to knock this planning application back. And I think this is going to be really good for the area. I think there's businesses wanting to invest in Mortlake. That's a really good thing. It's really exciting for the area. And I'm really happy to support this, and I hope they do well.
Thanks, Councillor Murray. Opportunity for other councillors who'd like to speak for or against. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Busy writing the notes. Yeah, agree with the comments from Councillor Dukas and Councillor Murray so far. The sale yards, Elders, it's becoming a real rural hub down there. So I think this is a fantastic thing for the town, fantastic thing for the Shire. So as Councillor Dukas said, good luck to the business. It's not us to decide about competitive nature. I think that it'll actually be good for the town in terms of later at night, things like that. Jobs for the town. It's a good positive thing. So congratulations to them. And there's 36 permit conditions. It's very thorough, like any petrol station. So, it's going to be safe and good for the town. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to speak for the proposal. As briefly mentioned by Councillor Lockett, Mortlake Sale Yards is just really the hub of livestock sales in this region. And the truck transportation is growing, and you actually even see transporters coming from Queensland now. And so it's very important there's somewhere for the drivers to be able to stop, refuel, have a break, and it will be providing a 24-hour service.
There are no other councillors wanting to speak for or against. I'll return to you as the mover.
No need, Madam Mayor.
Let's then put item 2.1 to the vote. Everyone in favour? Thank you. Carried 7-0. Item 2.3, creative change grants for 2025-2026. Ms Robinson, report from your directorate. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. This report seeks council endorsement for recommending fund allocations for the inaugural Creative Change Grants program. The program is totaling $15,000, a $10,000 contribution from council, and there was a $9,000 contribution from the Fletcher Jones Family Foundation. The council's arts and culture strategy identified the establishment of the Creative Change Grants program, which is a key action to strengthening creative participation and support of local artists. There was strong interest in this inaugural program, with 13 eligible applications requesting $55,786. And we awarded 6 successful projects distributed across Mortlake, Port Fairy, Koroit, Macarthur, Hawkerstar region.
Thanks, Ms Robinson. Are there questions from councillors? Yes, Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Being the first time this has happened, how obviously you kind of alluded to it then, but the uptake in the process, how do you think that went from the council side of things?
Through you, Mayor, it was really strongly subscribed to. There was a lot more interest outside of those actual applicants that we received. So I think the uptake was far exceeded officers' thoughts on the way that would go. Really exciting to see. I guess moving forward, it's for council to consider, you know, what sort of funding we put towards this in the future.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have an officer recommendation. Oh,
You know,
just
one quick question.
Sure.
Some of these seem to be open to the public. Some of these projects. Can we get a date on when they are operating, put in our calendar? Because sometimes these things happen and we miss it. I'll say, oh, when was that? That was last week. Well, might be partially my fault, but if it's in the calendar.
Always good to support the arts, so absolutely.
No, it'd be good if councillors could show up and say, you know, good luck to you and well done.
Absolutely. So if that's possible, Ms Robinson, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. So to item 2.3, we have that motion that we approve the funding that has been recommended to us. Councillor Murray, and a second, Councillor Lockett. Thank you. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Firstly, I wanted to thank the Fletcher Jones Family Foundation for their $9,000 topping up of this. I guess that brought these grants up to $24,000, which was amazing. And I think the most interesting thing in this report is that there was over $55,000 requested. So there is a need in our community for this, for arts, for creative avenues and creative funding. And so well done also to the team for the foresight, for the idea to do this, and for knowing that there is a real demand in our community for it. And also really happy to see the spread across the Shire of where the successful applications have been. So as you mentioned, there's Macarthur, Mortlake, Koroit, Port Fairy, Hawkesdale, which is really cool. I'm really excited to see what's done in this space and to see it maybe bolstered in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Murray's points, and there's something in the air, the water and the dirt in our Shire, because I think it's such a creative, thriving place with lots of creative people in it. We've banked on for years events in terms of folk festivals and jazz festivals and Irish festivals and things like that, but I think sometimes this really picks up on something that's kind of missed a little bit. So I'm just really happy to see that this program exists and it's being oversubscribed. So look forward to the future of this program flourishing like our creative people across the Shire. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Any other councillors want to speak for or against? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to speak for the motion and say that it's good to see that an innovation in our grants program, which is to support individuals and not just organisations, has been well received and has been a popular grant.
Thank you. No one else wants to speak. I'll return to the mover, councillor Murray, to sum up. Item 2.3, all those in favour, thank you. That is carried 7-0. Item 2.4 is the East Beach Stage 2 proposed public artwork. Ms Robinson, another from your directorate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, this report considers the installation of Grounded, which is an Indigenous truth-telling sculpture by artist Sherry Johnson, as a designated public art component for Stage 2 of the East Beach Master Plan. So under the East Beach Master Plan Stage 2, public art was identified, and we are proposing that Grounded be considered as that piece of work. And this will align with the Aboriginal Engagement and Partnership Plan, the Arts and Culture Strategy and the Economic Development Strategy for Council.
Thanks, Ms Robinson. I have questions.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. I just wanted to ask, I'm interested in the height of the sculpture. So in the description in the agenda, it's very tall. I think it's 4.2 metres tall. And we've seen the sculpture in marquette form. But of course, if the sculpture's built, it's going to be a lot bigger than that. So I'm actually interested in, if it does get built to that size, how the perspective will change. And in other words, the top of the sculpture, the head might recede into perspectival distance. Now, from my memory, in the design that's been composed, it's actually been designed to look a bit smaller in proportion to the body. And so if it gets to that height, that scale will be accentuated. So I was just wondering, is the artist intending to consider that in order to decide the final effect that they actually want, that they're intending?
Through you, Mayor, it would be the intention of council to work with the artists as well as with the community around the final design, which includes the size. It's been proposed at 4.2 metres. That may vary slightly depending on where it's going and how that's going to impact on the East Beach Master Plan in itself. And then we would work with the artist to make sure that the design is presented in a way that's true to her intent and her storytelling and represents what was set out to represent.
Okay, thank you. A second question, which is just regarding the costs and funding. So I know that there was support from many of the respondents to the community consultation, but there were also a number of concerns about the funding being put into public artworks considered by some as non-essentials, when our assets like roads are in so desperate need of repair. So I'd just like to understand how the project will proceed from today if the sculpture is adopted by council as the designated feature of Stage 2 of East Beach renewal. And so especially with regard to costs and funding, and I wondered if it is actually possible for locals who are really keen on this project to try and fundraise themselves.
Through you, Mayor, from a council perspective, this artwork will only proceed if there is funding to support it. So council are endorsing that piece of artwork to be the artwork that's considered for East Beach, but it needs to be funded. We will seek every opportunity for that funding, whether that be grants or whether we can work with community. It would be great to work with community in order to seek some of this funding, and we'll absolutely pursue that.
Thank you. Questions, and thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other questions? Councillor Ross.
I just have one. I've got the master plan in front of me, and I've been told today that that's just a concept plan. So you're going right back to bare bones, redesign the whole thing with the structure included. Would that be the?
Through you, Mayor, that's the concept plan. We're not going back to redesign. We are going to do detailed design work based on that concept plan, with further community consultation, considering in those detailed designs compliance, and this piece of artwork will fit into that. So we will just need to have a look at how that fits across.
So it'll be about on the southern end, and about where to look at.
That's the proposed position at the moment.
Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor, I just wanted to make a slight amendment to the officer recommendation, if that's okay. It currently states that council endorsed the installation of grounded and then continues on. I would just like to propose the removal of installation. So as it reads, as I am suggesting, that council endorse the artwork grounded as an Indigenous truth-telling sculpture by Sherry Johnson as a designated public art component of stage 2 of the East Beach Master Plan redevelopment. I'm just proposing this because installation somewhat gives the idea that it will be installed non-dependent of funding. As Councillor Taylor alluded to, we don't have any funding source at the moment, and we will be seeking funding sources. So just want to make it clear that it will not be installed until there is relevant funding for this project.
Excellent point. So you're happy to move as you've just read that?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. A seconder for that motion. Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Ryan, would you like to speak to that motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Further to what I've said, I think it's a fantastic add-on to our last agenda item of arts and culture is alive and well in our region, and this particular artwork strongly aligns with what we're currently seeing at a state level with our treaty process at state government, and it shows that council is showing a strong connection with our First Nations people and the continual development of our East Beach precinct as well.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. As the seconder, Councillor Murray.
Thank you. I'll reserve my right. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. Any other councillors who'd like to speak for or against this motion? Councillor Ross.
Well, I'm speaking against the motion based on some weight to the submissions we had, which was 21% against, 10% mixed, 3% uncertain, with the concerns on the location and the height, the visual aspect of the East Beach, natural family beach, holiday type. You're putting a major piece of artwork, busy corner. I just don't think it's the correct location.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to speak for the motion. The history of Aboriginal women's involvement in the early sealing and whaling industries in waters off the coast of southern Australia is very interesting and nuanced. Historians researching and writing in this field point out that archival evidence is scarce with regard to Aboriginal women, which is unfortunate. Nevertheless, it is known that the women, their hunting skills and their labour were fundamental to the economic success of colonial sealers. There were bad men who were cruel to Aboriginal women. There are also stories of Aboriginal women who managed whaling stations, had families with non-Aboriginal men and worked as sealers or ran farms and businesses with their husbands. If it is important to local Aboriginal people to focus on the stories of harm and to make peace with that part of history, and this sculpture will help mend that rift, then I'm pleased to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillor who'd like to speak for or against? Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Taylor, for talking about the difficult thing, because you know, there's often documents that have sat on shelves for many years, reconciliation documents where not much happens. And I think this is reconciliation in action. This is a brave step for council. And I had Aboriginal people say to me, this is everyone's story. So, and I think this is a brave step of council to go into that space and try and do the right thing. Yes, it's a tricky process, and I think we're how we tell that story will be led by our Indigenous people. That's the very important thing. Yes, we're consulting with the community, but how that story is told will be guided by them. So, you know, it is a tricky process. We've had an overwhelming amount of support for it. Yes, there has been some that are, you know, concerns about height, things like that, but I think it's a brave thing to do. You know, if we think about, say, coming up, we've got Remembrance Day, Anzac Day, and world wars that we've participated in and things like that, and how as a very old but also a young nation we commemorate those, you know, horrific things quite well. And I think that space, how we reconcile the horrendous things that did occur and have occurred to our Aboriginal people, First Nations people, this is a massive step in the right direction, I think, for Moyne and for the greater region. So I think it's a courageous thing and a great thing that we're doing in this space. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lockett. Any final councillors want to speak to this for or against? Councillor Murray, you reserve your right.
Through you, Mayor. I feel this artwork is an opportunity to really embed truth telling and cultural recognition into one of Moyne's most significant public spaces. And I think that's really important. Councillor Ross, I understand, and I have read through some of the people that were saying, oh, we feel it's the wrong location and the height might be, too difficult. We will continue to work with community on this, but I think that location is amazing because it is prominent. It is there, and that's what we need to do. That's what we need to start. Similar, as Councillor Lockett said, with our war memorials, you don't hide them away in the back corner. You put them front and centre in your community. And the project has been overwhelmingly supported, but I did want to mention a few things. I've personally been contacted by a few members from our First Nations community that have shared some concern about how the story will be told. And their hope is that it becomes a story not just of resilience and the atrocities that happened, which is true, that's part of truth telling, but they also want it to be a story of strength, survival and celebration. As a council and as non-Indigenous Australians, it is not our job to tell this story, but it's absolutely our responsibility to ensure that we create the space and opportunity for it to be told by our First Nations community for everyone. So I'm pleased that those conversations between the artist, Eastern Mara Aboriginal Corporation and the broader Aboriginal community will continue as this project develops. And I also wanted to acknowledge some in our community have contacted me and expressed frustration over why council would support a project such as this when there are roads that need fixing and there are potholes. And I completely understand that sentiment. I think it's really important to clarify that no ratepayer funds have been used on this project to date, and any future stages will also rely on external grant funding or fundraising. There are specific state and federal grants dedicated to arts, culture and truth telling. This funding cannot be redirected to road repairs or other infrastructure works. So supporting this project does not come at the expense of our roads. It adds another layer to how we invest in our community. And I'm very happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. And Councillor Ryan, as the mover, would you like to start?
Through you, Mayor, just one additional thing to say. It's wonderful to see recognition of our First Nations history in the room today. And that being said, First Nations history is our country's history, not just that particular group of our country. So it's fantastic, and I'm so grateful to for this project to have the support within the room.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Okay, we'll now put item 2.4 to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That is Councillors Ryan, Murray, Lockett, Foster and Taylor. And those against, Councillors Dukas and Ross. That is carried 5-2. Item 2.5 is the Community Assistance Fund, round 1 for 2025-26. Ms Robinson again, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, this report outlines the round 1 grant allocations for the Community Assistance Fund program, which supports local groups with small scale facility upgrades, purchases and community programs. The round 1 applications demonstrate a continued strong community engagement, and it aligns soundly with council's strategic goals. The funding will enable the delivery of 31 locally led projects across the land.
Excellent. So questions from councillors? Being none, oh yes, Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor.
After Councillor Lockett, I'll to you.
This program, the CAF as we call it, has been going for quite some time. Obviously it's in the report, but how would you say the uptake is still positive and people bursting at the seams to get in the door?
Through you, Mayor, this always has a really positive uptake. It's a highly subscribed program, and we're really happy to be able to support the community through this program.
Thank you.
Councillor Dukas.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, if we look at the list of projects on page we on 265, number 8 is Koroit Football Netball Club, new scoreboard for Vic Park. You got it?
Number eight.
Number six.
Number 6.
6.
Yep.
That's what happens when you get old. Number 8, Mortlake Rec Reserve scoreboard upgrade. And if you go over the page, there's a little sum of money, number 15 for Pam Ewer, to do with the scoreboard. And the officers, Miss Robinson, someone, could you bring those clubs up and say, let's talk, scoreboards, and see if we come up with a better way of doing instead of all being individual. Surely if they're all into scoreboards, they could deal with a scoreboard, whoever or whatever they want, and group it together and see if they can get benefits of scale or whatever they call it.
Economies of scale.
Yeah, Colin, thank you very much. I was just testing you out, that's all. I just thought, is that's possible, is it not?
Through you, Mayor, absolutely. We are more than happy to work with the community and try and have a combined approach where we can assist the community in doing so. Some of the scoreboards are for different purposes though. So the one in Pammy was for netball, but we can still have a look at that.
Yeah, but especially if it's something to do with electronics, then they could all go in together and get it. Anyway, I'll leave it up to you guys. You know what you're doing.
We're happy to have those conversations.
Any other questions for item 2.5? If not, I am seeking a mover. Thank you, Councillor Lockett, and seconded Councillor Ryan. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. It's my favourite thing we do at council. We do lots of epic, great, wonderful things in the epic Shire of Moyne, but this is a personal favourite because have a look at the spread, as Councillor Duke has said before. Pam Ewer, Mortlake, Port Fairy, just reading out the town names. It's a wonderful spread across the Shire. Koroit, Naranda, East Fram, like the list goes on and on. It's a really good spread of diverse things that are needed across the Shire, and I think the massive congratulations to the officers. They do a fantastic job with helping people get their applications and things together. But yeah, that's what we do. I think it's really important and exciting. It's a great one.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Robin.
Thanks through you, Mayor. Yes, it is wonderful to see such a great spread across the Shire, and I recognise that not all community groups have the ability or resources to apply for these grants. So this has been discussed with council officers and flagged as a key component of aligning with our council plan priority of increasing volunteerism across the Shire and enabling those groups and supporting those groups to be able to apply for grants such as this. So I do encourage all community groups to speak up and get involved where possible. Just something to probably take offline with the officers for further discussion is just the requirements or the eligibility for these grants, because there are some that are in there that I question. That's for an offline discussion. Thank you.
Future discussion. Thank you for flagging that, Councillor Ryan. Would any other councillor like to speak for or against this motion? If not, Councillor Lockett, return to you to sum up.
Nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
Item 2.5, let's put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, that is carried 7-0. Item 2.6 is the asset plan framework, and final one I think for you, Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. Councillors, this report provides the updated asset plan, asset management policy, and the 6 associated asset management plans, which are all required under the Local Government Act. These plans have previously been to council meeting, and they subsequently were out for community consultation. We're here today as a result of that community consultation. There were 3 submissions received which talk to things that were already embedded in the plan. So we've made sure that they were actioned, but they were in there. And we didn't get a really strong response, but the responses we did really supported the plans.
Thank you. At least we've provided the opportunity. Are there questions from councillors? Councillor Lucas.
Some clarification, please. On page 288, way down the bottom, it talks about implementation will be overseen by the Internal Assets Governance Group with regular monitoring and reporting. Then it talks about defined actions, KPIs annual state of assets report, ongoing tracking, etc. I don't know who's the internal assets, but defined actions, response and KPIs, do we get to look at them as a council?
Ms. Robertson, one for you.
Through you, Mayor. Absolutely, Councillor Dukas, we will bring regular reporting back to councillors on the asset management plans. Together with, we are also currently working towards an asset management finance plan, which will help further design, further define some of those responsibilities and KPIs. But each asset manager is sitting on the working group and helps to inform some of those decisions.
So follow up, we've got a couple of follow-ups. It says that we get an annual report. Why isn't it a quarterly report? Because 12 months down the track, if something goes pear-shaped, it's too late to fix.
Through you, Mayor. We are happy to bring those reports to council on a more regular basis. Quarterly might be a little bit difficult. Can we do, is councillor?
Whatever's the easiest for the...
It's 6 monthly.
Yeah.
It fits within the maintenance and the scale. I think given some of the works that are required, if we were doing it quarterly, we may not be reporting much. 6 monthly, we would be able to track it a little bit better.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. Anything quicker than 12 months, because 12 months, the year's over. Doesn't matter what time you're working on. One other thing I'd like to highlight, on page 319, community's role. It says, council is committed to engaging with community and ensuring transparency in its decision-making by providing appropriate opportunities for input into decisions that affect assets and service delivery. So we failed on that today when it comes to Campbell Street, haven't we?
Is that your question?
No, my question is, have we or haven't we failed? Because there was no consultation with that community till that community knew something was afoot. So, but I don't expect an answer there. We can discuss this at the workshop so we can all have our two bobs worth.
Yeah, through me, it's happy to do that. I think we're always open and eager for opportunities to improve our processes. So on that particular one, we're really grateful that residents of Campbell Street have got ahead of our process and are obviously willing to talk to them and continue that engagement.
Thank you, Mr. Everstein. Any further questions for 2.6? Councillor Ross.
Through you, Mayor, could you tell us a little bit about the funding gap between maintaining our assets at the current level and the amount of money we've got to spend on those assets?
Sure, through you, Mayor. So we do have quite a large funding gap. It's important to note that we have managed our assets quite well from a council perspective, and we do tend to do that quite well compared to other councils. We have a large amount of assets, and we are working through the best way to manage those as we go through this process. This is a large part of why we're doing the asset finance plan, to get a better idea of the best approach for closing that gap.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other questions? Right, we have an officer recommendation that we adopt the asset plan as set out before us. Anyone prefer to move up to that? Councillor Ross, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lockett. Thanks, Councillor Ross.
Oh, well, not overly happy to move it, but we will move forward and address some of the issues on the plan.
Thanks, Councillor Ross. Councillor Lockett, seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. Very important document to help keep things on track. As Councillor Ross asked, it's very tricky. We've got a lot of assets and it's tricky to maintain, you know, particularly it's alluding to roads and a lot of things we have, you know, this is highlighting before about the community assistance fund. What makes Moyne such a great place is the diversity of all the different little towns across it, but it's also a tricky thing to balance that asset management. Yeah. So this is a good guiding light for us to our true north. Thank you.
Would any other councillor like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor, I just wanted to add to that, Ms. Robinson alluded to our huge amount of assets, and I speak to particularly our network of roads within our region, and that we're doing a lot of advocacy work in that space, particularly with a new approach for road funding, which we have been really advocating for with our association with MAV. So it's not just coming down to where we allocate money, it's the money coming down to us from the higher levels of government as well. So we are strongly advocating in that space to reduce that gap.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Any other councillors want to get?
Yes, thank you. Look, I'll speak for it, Madam Mayor. Not reluctantly, but with approbation, because looking at some of the figures here on page 289, we're 17 million down annually with our assets renewal. So, you know, in this document today, we talk about streamlining the Shire and how we're going to have efficiency gains, etc. There's a report coming, they tell me, about how we're going to find all this money. It's all written in here. But how can we find 17 million if there's a shortfall? Has anybody got any idea? You know, if you can come up and tell me we can save 5 million in the next 2 years, well, we're still 12 million down. This is just on assets, not the rest of the Shire. So, you know, an explanation going forward at some time in the future would be very good on how we do all this.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Any other councillor wanting to speak for or against? Councillor Ross, you were the mover. Anything you'd like to say to someone?
Oh, yes. Just as 4 new councillors on board, and we've got 3 old councillors, and we're going to tackle all these issues. First, we spent our first year in, and it's a bit of a learning curve. We're going to get together, get our heads around it, and try and move forward. I'm out.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. In fact, it's our 1 year anniversary today, so as a council team. So let's put item 2.6 to the vote. All those in favour, please. Thank you. That is carried 7-0. Item 2.7 is the Port Fairy Aerodrome, and I'll ask Mr. Lee to introduce this item for us, please.
Okay. Councillors, this report proposes that the Port Fairy airstrip be permanently closed. This recommendation is based primarily on safety concerns following the safety inspection we had conducted, but it also has other contributing factors behind this recommendation, including the ongoing operation and maintenance cost of the airstrip, a declined level of usage, and also the proximity to the airport, to which Moyne contributes significantly financial contribution on an annual basis. So, councillors, the report before you is before you for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Do we have any questions? Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Apologies for the lack of notice with these questions. Just regarding the widening or the maintaining of the asset, we have discussed it earlier. That's way too expensive and difficult. Is that the kind of summary? It's a rhetorical question in a way.
Through you, Mayor, it's also not possible. The airstrip measures 18 metres in width.
Yes.
The recommendation by the guidelines is to go to 60 metres, but there's a body of water with the Belfast Lock and a road on the other side which prevent it being widened appreciably.
Yeah. Thank you, Captain Lee.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Lucas.
Councillor Murray, beauty before brawn.
Thank you.
Murray.
It's not so much a question, but this might be, there's something that I'm going to read out here, which is my favourite thing that has been in a council report since I've been a councillor, and I think that the community might like to read it as well. The responsibility for deciding when the airstrip is suitable for landing or takeoff operations is the responsibility of the Port of Port Fairy staff who have no aviation qualifications or experience. There is no documented testing protocol which sees staff driving a work ute up and down the airstrip to subjectively determine if the surface is suitable for aircraft operations. That is my favourite visual of the port staff driving a ute up and down the airstrip and going, yeah, I guess the plane could land here today. So I think it's I really love that. It speaks to a very country experience, a very
Is there any question
regional.
about that?
There is no question. I just think it's fascinating.
Councillor, Mr.
Yeah.
Lee.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah,
Just
sorry.
a quick response to that, and that's one of the reasons we undertook a safety inspection, because the staff can raise their concerns. We've been tasked with that responsibility.
As they should. I'm glad they did.
Councillor Dukas.
Thank you. Is there any chance for water planes to land on the lock and sort of come in?
Is that something you're able to answer?
As per the staff doing the safety inspections in a ute, that's beyond my area of expertise. Councillor.
To take that on
No,
notice.
follow-up is, thank you. Now, the airport used to be made by Mr. Holmes, and I reckon he had a couple of helpers, and let's put it that, there were volunteers that looked after it for a long, long time. Would it be too much to ask that we invite him in one afternoon at a workshop and say thank you? Because I don't know the name of the other gentleman, but I remember Max Holmes. He mowed that all day long on a regular basis for a very long time. I just thought, the end days,
I think it's a lovely idea, Councillor.
just bring them in and say thank you.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Thank you for the thought. Any other questions? If not, we have, Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor. I note some other agenda items in regards to selling of some unneeded assets in the Shire, and I note that this parcel of land is owned by Moyne Shire. I just wonder if the vote were to pass today, that might be, I don't know, a consideration in the future. Not sure of timeframes, but just putting that out there.
Good thinking, and I guess the second point part of the recommendations probably speaks to considering other options. Yeah. Great. All right. Well, speaking of officer recommendation, I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Ryan, seconded Councillor Murray. Councillor Ryan.
Thanks. Through you, Mayor. I think it would be not in the Shire's best interest to promote any form of unsafe activity, this airstrip included. So I feel as though it's no longer in a state where it can be used safely.
Thank you. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Summed up perfectly by Councillor Ryan. It's not safe. It likely can't be made to be safe, so I'm happy to support this closing of the aerodrome.
Yes, closing of the aerodrome. Thank you. Any other councillors want to speak? Councillor Lockett.
Thanks, Mayor. We had a discussion earlier today. I often take a stance of people that don't like change, because often in our Shire, our residents sometimes don't like change. And as Councillor Dukas said earlier today, I don't want to see it close. And it's a real shame that it does have to, but it's one, way too expensive. We've heard it's kind of impossible. There's a lock and there's a road, so we can't make it safe. So it's a shame to see it go. We spoke about earlier, there was people have maintained it over the years. There used to be glider flights and people could, land the small planes and things there. So it's a shame, but it's a necessary evil. The other safety concern, which hasn't been mentioned, is you can tee off and possibly hit a plane, which I've seen happen a couple of times. The golf course kind of coincides with it. So migration birds, there's so many different reasons why it's dangerous. And they're probably lucky it's been as safe as it has been over the years. So it's a shame to see it go, but it's the right decision for safety and ratepayers. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Any other councillors? Councillor Taylor.
Just supporting the motion because it's just very black and white to me. It doesn't meet regulation, so there's nothing we can do about it.
Councillor Murray.
Thank you. Through you. I know I already spoke.
Actually speak again, sorry.
I was just
Oh, sorry. Yes, you got a question?
just around, I just wanted to clarify, I'm sorry I forgot to ask it before. For the community's benefit, I know the answer. Can emergency vehicles still land anywhere in town?
Through you, Mayor, I understand that the emergency helicopter, oh, sorry. I don't know about emergency vehicles.
Sorry, I meant emergency
Helicopters.
choppers.
I don't know where they land. I do know the helicopters have landed close into town, either the gardens or the showgrounds or on private blocks, but I don't know about emergency vehicles, emergency helicopters.
Yep.
I do know they land at Warrnambool Airport. I don't know if they land around Port Fairy or not. Perhaps taken on notice.
So they're not reliant on our airstream.
My understanding is the air ambulance lands at Warrnambool, but I don't know if there's been any emergencies where they've had to land in Port Fairy. I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Thank you. All good.
Councillor Ryan, returning to you as the mover.
In the words of Councillor Lockett, over and out.
Okay. Let's put item 2.7 to the vote. Please, those in favour. That's carried 7-0. Thanks, councillors. Item 2.8, Moyne Shire Council General Law, Local Law, number 1, Solicitor Certificate, Mr. Lee, and we'll welcome back Ms. Miller as well.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll hand directly to our Manager of Environment, Energy and Development Services to present the Office report on this issue.
Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this report provides for administrative and legal corrections to the adopted version of the Local Law number 1, 2025 on last week's special council meeting held on the 21st of October. The office's recommendations are clearly set out in your agenda. First of all, the first recommendation is to revoke the resolution of the 21st of October in relation to that local law. And the second part is to note the legal certification of the draft local law in the attachment 1, and then adopt the draft local law as shown in attachment 2 to commence on today's date, being the 28th of October. The changes are clearly outlined also for clarification in the recommendation. And then the fourth recommendation authorises the CEO to publish the required statutory notices. And then the final recommendation is to commence that full review of the local law as discussed at the council meeting last week.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Okay, administrative requirement here. Any questions around that? If not, the recommendation is before us. Do we have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Murray, and seconded Councillor Lockett. Councillor Murray.
Thank you for being there. As you mentioned, it's just some minor changes. They're all listed in the agenda if anyone needs to see them. But yeah, happy to push this one through.
Thank you. Councillor Lockett.
Yeah, no, for the procedural amendment, if you like. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councillors would like to speak for or against? And being none, Councillor Murray, anything further? No. Let's put item 2.8 to the vote. Those in favour, 7-0. Item 2.9, proposed sale of Warrnambool Public and Tennis Court in Warrnambool. And I'll ask our Acting Director of Corporate and Governance, Ms. Liz Regent, to please introduce this to us. And apologies to Warrnambool locals if I've mispronounced Warrnambool. I'm never quite sure. It is, and no one can give me a straight answer. But over to you, Ms. Regent.
Thank you, Mayor. So, councillors, this report addresses the process for commencing a sale by expression of interest for the lands known as the Warrnambool Public Hall and the former tennis court. As you'll be aware, council previously reviewed its land assets, and as a result of the review, these sites were identified, nominated for consideration for sale. The report recommends the process for sale be progressed in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government Act.
Thank you, Ms. Regent. Questions from councillors at this point? It has been around for quite a long time, this issue, so we're quite familiar with it. Yep, Councillor Davis.
Could the officers reiterate the fact that we propose to put all the blocks together?
Ms. Regent, that's the case? Is it we're proposing to amalgamate all 4 parcels into one?
Through you, Mayor, that is correct. There are a few steps to go through to
get
in order
to that
to reach
stage.
that step.
But anybody who reads this or hears about it will also know that it's going to be a decent sized block. So it might help them show a bit of interest, that's all.
Thanks, councillor Lucas. Any other questions? There are none. We have got an officer recommendation to start this process officially. And I'm looking for a mover. Thank you, councillor Ryan. Seconded, councillor Murray. Thank you. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just a step in our process to get rid of some assets that are no longer deemed requirements of the Shire, and a way to cut some costs regarding maintenance for those particular assets. So happy to move this item for sale.
Thank you. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Early in our term, we did ask as councillors for officers to have a look at all of our assets and see if there are things that are surplus to our needs as council that we are spending money on maintenance and things that we don't actually need. So I guess this is sort of the start of those processes, and I'm thankful to staff for doing that. Asset rationalisation, I think, is the fancy way of saying selling off things we no longer need. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you, councillor Murray. Open for other councillors who'd like to speak. Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mayor. By reading the report, I take it that there is no longer a committee of management for the hall.
Is that something you're able to confirm, Ms. Regent?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah, right. So do we know when it finished up, and if there were any funds, what happened to the funds? Did that get spent on planting trees in the community or anything? Because there was a committee, it wasn't that long ago, they did have a committee.
Yeah, I'll probably just need to take that on notice.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
So are you speaking for or against what?
No, that's just a clarification.
Thank you. If there's no one else who'd like to speak, I'll return to the mover. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you.
Item 2.9, please. All those in favour? That's carried 7-0. Item 2.10 is the proposed revocation of unused road grazing licences existing on McClaws Court, Norman Court and part of Rutledge Street in Winslow. And a report from your Directorate, Ms. Regent.
Thank you, Mayor. So, councillors, this matter is brought to you as a result of investigations regarding unused grazing licences on this road reserve. The report recommends that council request the licences be revoked by DECA to allow for the use of this public road and the construction of access to land that's been recently subdivided.
Thank you, Ms. Regent. Any have questions? No. So the officer recommendation is before us for item 2.10. Do we have a mover? Councillor Ross.
We've done a lot of the work today.
And seconded by Councillor.
Waiting for you, I thought you had it on a spring, you two.
Councillor Ross.
Growth area in the Shire, which is good to see. Happy to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much further to add. Just great to see, tidying up a bit of work and things in the Shire. Great little spot in Winslow. Love going there, checking it out every now and again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any councillors who want to speak for or against this motion? Councillor Ross, is there anything you'd like to say in summing up? No? Well, let's vote on it.
One
You're
clarification.
going to have to get these questions in early. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, it just takes time because there's so many questions picking over. Now these licenses are revoked. They're pretty wide roads. The road reserves are pretty wide, if I remember correctly. If there's no houses built on the blocks, would then be the Shire's responsibility to mow those road reserves?
Through you, Mayor. No, they are. There are quite a lot of actually unmade road reserves in the Shire that don't fall to council.
No, but these roads are being open to the public. So I'm talking about the road reserve next to the roads that are being open to the public, but no houses are built on the blocks as yet.
I can
Take it on
provide a bit
notice.
more information on that. However, they don't always fall to us for me.
I know that once you build your house, you look after your nature strip, but if there's 5 blocks and there's no houses on them, then the nature strips will just grow. Like whoever owns the blocks or the person who subdivides it will go in and mow the block, but will they mow the road reserve?
So we'll take that on notice, that question.
Most people do in the country mow the reserve. I just thought I'd ask.
Sure, thank you. Okay, so we have got a mover and a seconder, and we've spoken. Everyone has had opportunity to speak. So I'll put item 2.10 to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Item 2.11 is the proposed sale of Lot 1 Campbell's Lane in Mortlake. Ms. Regent, once again, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So, councillors, this report also brings forward the property for council to consider in terms of the proposed sale. So, the report addresses the proposed sale by expression of interest for the land known as Lot 1 Campbell's Lane in Mortlake. If supported, council officers will commence this process in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government Act.
Thank you, Ms. Regent. Any clarifying questions here? Councillor Dukas, have you got any questions?
Not yet.
No, okay, we'll come to you.
I'll come to me.
Any other questions? No. You've got none. Oh, okay. You're like an auctioneer. So I am looking for a mover. Thank you, Councillor Ross. Is that a question or are you moving?
Highly contested.
It is. Are you moving the motion or are you asking a question?
I'm moving.
You're moving. Thank you. So I'm seeking a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Ross.
I'm just looking at the map here in Mortlake. It's another growth area right next to the cemetery.
Dead centre.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to get into that part of it.
Councillor Lockett as a seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. This proceeds with the Moyne auction sale at the moment. It's like a bit of a clean out garage sale at Moyne at the moment, but great to see and encourage people to check it out. There's great land on for sale at the moment, so come on down, have a look, have a squizzy, contact the neighbours.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Would any other councillor like to speak for or against? Not Councillor Ross. Anything further you'd like to add?
Encourage people to get out there and have a look at the block and the bidding.
Okay. Item 2.11, please let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. At this point, councillors, in deference to the fact that we have a particularly long agenda this week, I'd like to propose that we do take a 10-minute break if councillors are amenable to that. And I will seek a mover for a motion that we suspend standing orders. Councillor Murray. Seconded, Councillor Roth. All those in favour, please.
Going.
That is carried 6-1 with Councillor Dukas voting against. And for those,
Confidential.
for those watching online, we will return in 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome back, councillors and those online. I'll just call for a motion to resume standing orders so we can consider the rest of the agenda. Councillor Murray and second Councillor Lockett. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you very much for indulging us for that little break. And we'll consider now item 2.12, the Moyne Shire Child Safety Strategy. And I'll ask Ms. Regent to introduce this, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So, councillors, this report presents the recently finalised Child Safe Strategy for Moyne. The strategy has been prepared in accordance with updated child safe standards and is brought to council today with a request for support for this strategy.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions, councillors? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, I do. So, I note that it is a requirement of state government that we adopt the standards. And I do want to preface my question with an explanation of changes to the child safety standards. So, I had a look at the previous standards, 2016, and I note that there's been a major shift in the language, content and intent of the 2023 child safety standards in comparison. The 2016 standards were about procedural safeguarding against physical harm and child abuse, which was legally defined in the Education and Training Reform Act 2006. The framework in those standards was centred on governance, compliance, screening, risk management and procedural transparency. Whereas the 2023 standards are about setting a moral framework and expanding the definition of harm to include psychological, emotional and cultural safety. So it marks a conceptual shift from safeguarding to therapeutic governance, and safety has expanded to include well-being. The underlying logic is therapeutic and identity-based, that environments must affirm all identities, particularly those deemed vulnerable or historically marginalised. Identity affirmation, anti-racism and inclusion is becoming a state-sanctioned and regulatory norm such that organisations must demonstrate alignment to be considered safe. So in my opinion, it is a form of social engineering as it shapes citizens' emotional and moral dispositions through education, regulation and moral influence. So the moment, and I think at the moment that subjective wellbeing becomes a public good, which it does in these new standards, it requires social control to secure it. So my question really is, and I note that standard 10, which has the minimum of regular review and improvement in complying with standards, suggests to me that the minimum standards don't remain minimum. They get ramped up because every time you review and you improve, those minimums don't really hold. It will, they just change over time. So one question is, what is the financial cost on council? Because there will be required ongoing training of staff and employment of extra staff to manage the compliance requirements. And I also wanted to know, with regard to some of the expectations within these standards, will they be embedded into the programs of the childcare kindergartens, or is there an opt-out for parents who don't necessarily agree with all of those standards being imposed?
Would like to take this, Ms. Regent, or
Do you want me to?
Ms. Robinson? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. The standards have indeed shifted from 2016 and they've gone from 7 standards to the 11 now. There's stronger focus on cultural safety, on stronger collaboration and communication with families, and there's also now an aspect of digital safety. And I think your question is in 2 parts. From a corporate organisational point of view, there absolutely is a lot more requirement in this framework. As a council with a lot of areas where we work with children and we interact with children, we are required to meet the minimum standards of this. That a lot of that work is already happening in things that we do and in policies and procedures that we have in place. There is some needs to refine that and to tighten that up to make sure that we've got everything considered, all the standards considered. As far as from a service delivery perspective, as an approved provider, we've got obligations and legislative requirements to comply with these standards, and our services are audited in line with these standards.
Does that answer your...
Yeah, so just to follow up, if that's okay. So because some of these standards, and maybe you can clarify this for me, but it reads to me that a number of these standards, because they've shifted into the area of therapeutic harm or therapeutic care, will they require sort of regulating of speech and controlling sort of relationships amongst children and staff and so forth in terms of behaviours and speech within kindergartens and childcare? I mean, I just see there's a huge shift in what the state government is requiring childcare or well, it's across all, of course, the ages through schools as well, but the one that concerns us most is the childcare area. And I just wondered how that's going to impact.
Through you, Mayor. I think with the standards, it's about giving children a stronger voice. So within our services that we already deliver, that is front of mind, and we do work really closely with the children. I don't really think it changes the way we interact as much as just being careful of the way that we consider children and let decisions be more child-led rather than educator-led where possible. And sorry, I don't know if I said the other part as well, but as far as additional costs, I don't perceive that there's any major additional costs with this. It's more about educating internally and for staff to have the awareness of the obligations under these standards and the framework, and just embedding that across.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What age group are we talking about? I had trouble finding an age group.
Mayor, the child safe standards apply to all children, so up to the age of 18.
18. Everything in this document relates to someone that's between 1 and 18.
Zero and 18.
Zero's going to have trouble.
One day.
No, one day's one day. Zero's.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, you know, from a baby to an 18. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we do have an officer recommendation that we note and support the development and implementation of the Moyne Shire Child Safe Strategy. Do I have a move? Councillor Ryan, seconded Councillor Lockett. Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor. We've seen an increase in child safety requirements in our early years, so it's due to outside factors. So I think it's fitting to see this strategy has an all of council approach. Local government is the first point of contact for residents seeking help, connection or advocacy, from maternal child health, libraries, youth programs, right through to aged care and compliance and planning. And a therapeutic approach recognises that every interaction can build trust or deepen distress. So having a therapeutic approach reduces that. The Royal Commission into Institutional Response to Child Sexual Abuse revealed that abuse thrives in environments where authority is unchallenged, concerns are minimised, and child wellbeing is not part of everyday decision making. So it's great to see that these new standards have a wellbeing approach, and wellbeing goes beyond just protection. So I think it's a requirement of council that we look further than just the status quo, and we take that step further to minimise any risk to children within any service that we offer.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I reserve my right.
Okay, any other councillors who'd like to speak? Yeah, Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mayor, I'll speak for the motion. And just within the report, I was really interested in the section that is what young people told us. This is child safe standards. I'm always interested in the people that this affects, how they feel about it and what their suggestions may be. And what the children and young people said is that they expressed a desire for more youth-led and youth-controlled projects and programs, which I think is really important as counsellors to remember that kids want things that they have a bit of ownership over, and we need to facilitate that as best we can. The creation of youth hubs, more safe spaces open later at night, so often don't have anywhere to go as soon as the sun goes down, and enhance public transport options, which I know across Moyne is a big problem. It's really hard and something that we probably need to continue to invest in and look at. But overall, and also on what our First Nations people told us as marginalised members of our community, they spoke about the importance of cultural safety for children, and being one of the most important factors is that these children should be encouraged to express their cultural heritage and be supported to celebrate their culture. And I think it's really important that we as a council support things like this. It's about keeping our kids safe. It's so important. So yeah, I'm in favour of this updated policy.
Thanks, Councillor Murray. Any other councillors? Councillor Taylor.
I will speak to support the motion, but I will note that I don't think there's really a choice there's no choice with regard to standards because they are required by the state government. So in that way, it's a moot point. But I did just want to clarify that for me, those new standards, harm has become subjective, which the concern for me is that over time, what begins as be kind will become you must affirm, and what begins as words can hurt will become speech must be regulated. And I think that is the start of a therapeutic state in which wellbeing becomes highest good, and conditions for inner safety are being engineered. So I just will say that, but I will support the motion.
Any other councillors?
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Dukes.
Please, can someone tell me, is this legislated or is it just something we adopt?
Ms Robinson.
Through you, Mayor, this is legislation. We are required to adhere to the child safe standards.
So we don't have a choice.
Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against? If not, I'll return to you. Reserved your right, Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, ma'am. Agree with most of the comments so far. I just disagree with Councillor Taylor's comments about wellbeing, with respect. As a therapist, it'd be rude of me not to. I think wellbeing is the highest good. If we can't look after the kids and keep kids safe, emotional, psychological, physical abuse, what are we doing? Like, I think, yes, it's another state government, policy that's forced upon us, if you like, but it's about keeping kids safe. I think this is probably, it's probably the most important policy we have, and it's obviously come about. There's been some horrendous things that have occurred in this space. So we should be doing everything we can and above and beyond to keep our kids safe. So it's as important as it gets. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. I'll return to you as the mover, Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor, everything Councillor Lockett just said, wellbeing is the highest good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 2.12, I'm asking all those in favour to please raise your hands. That is carried 7-0. Item 2.13 is the annual report for 24-25. Ms Regent, start us off.
Thank you, Mayor. So, councillors, the annual report is presented to you today. As you'll be aware, the annual report has been prepared in accordance with the Local Government Act provisions and regulations, and must address a few things. So, that must address provide a report on the operations of council, must include the audited performance statement that you've previously seen, and the financial statements that you've previously seen in the September council meeting. Copy of the auditor's report is included, and any other matters prescribed by the regulation. As you know, the Mayor is required to present this report to Council for its consideration, and following this meeting, the report will be available on Council's website.
Thanks, Ms Regent. And I have got some notes that I was in presenting this to everybody. So it is my honour to present to Council, to staff and the community Moyne Shire's annual report 2024-25. It was another great year of really sound financial management and solid performance, in which we notched up record investment in infrastructure and progressed a number of long-term community projects that we've really had in the pipeline for quite some time. During that year, we invested 15.4 million in roads, bridges, footpaths and drainage, and that was one of the highest ratios of infrastructure investment amongst regional Victorian councils of our size. And as testament to our commitment to keep Moyne moving, we've delivered a total of 29.7 million in capital works, which is 3.6 million more than the previous year. And we've done all of this while remaining debt-free, and while strengthening our cash position. And we were able to manage an average rate rise of 2.4%, which was just below the state government rate cap. So major works delivered or progressed during the year included 110 kilometres of road resealing, which exceeded our target by 20%. So well done, team. 3 million for the Port Fairy Skate and Play Precinct. The Hopkins Falls Bridge at Wangoom was widened. Lighting was installed at Victoria Park in Koroit, and we completed stage 1 of the East Beach upgrades in Port Fairy. Now, as a small regional council, we can't do it all alone. And we were successful during the year in securing significant external funding to support some of our works. And that included 2 million from the Federal Growing Regions Fund for the Koroit Township Renewal Project, stage 3 of which is just underway now. 5 million from the Safer Local Roads and Infrastructure Program for the Gibbs Street Bridge replacement in Port Fairy, which we are all eagerly awaiting. And 2.15 million for upgrades to the Darlington Terrain Road. Agriculture continues to be our major economic driver and underscores around 60% of our regional economy. But also tourism and events is strong for us. And during the year, we welcomed more than 14,000 guests to Council's caravan parks across a busy summer. We also recognise the importance of early years care for our families, and we've increased childcare places by 5%. And that was partly thanks to the Roots Childcare Centre opening at Garbok in what has been a very successful public-private partnership. So on behalf of Council, I'd like to thank and acknowledge our hard-working team. Now, working in local government can be pretty thankless at times, but this annual report demonstrates the tangible differences that we're all making together across the communities of Moyne Shire. So, councillors, I commend the 2024-25 annual report to you. So, opportunity here, if any councillors have got questions that we can ask those now. Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor, just for public transparency, I note some discrepancies in my councillor expenses. After discussions with the officers, they will be amended within the next financial year and the financial report.
Thank you very much for flagging that. Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Any other questions? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I want to provide some context for my questions, and I think I'll be directing these questions to Mr. Eberstein. I'll always defend a system based on merit, individual responsibility, the dignity of the individual and the content of one's character, not group identities. The Equality, Diversity and Inclusion subsection in the Our People section of the annual report departs from meritocracy, and I refer to page 787 of the agenda, page 20 of the annual report. By emphasising group identities and committing the Shire to promote them, it assumes society is inherently stratified and unequal along those lines. This is a commitment that fundamentally alters the organisation's institutional culture. I'm not critiquing individuals, but the ideology that a person's identity is defined solely by shared group traits and intersectionality, which ranks people on a hierarchy of oppression based on those groups. Respecting differences in race, sex, sexuality and disability sounds like fairness. That's traditional social justice, but that's not what this is. This aligns with critical social justice, which is focused on dismantling systems of power. It envisions an ideal society imposed by those who know better, not through individual agency. In contrast, a liberal order protects freedoms to speak, disagree and think independently. That's the liberal operating system, which invites constructive criticism to correct faults, and it only works when these principles are functioning. True diversity in organisations means diversity of ideas, not identity with enforced conformity. Critical social justice aims to deconstruct liberal societies and rebuild them on its terms, rejecting liberalism's roots. It requires universal compliance. So I'm concerned these aspirations will demand enforcement
Just a moment, Councillor Taylor.
and punishment as they embed in council culture.
Councillor Taylor, can I just ask you to pause for a second?
Yes.
Your point of order?
Just that it's an opportunity to ask questions. You can.
There is the question. I wanted the context so you understand.
Okay.
where the questions are coming from. Now I'm at the question.
Yes.
So I just wanted to know, were these implications taken into consideration when this section was written? And given that I've explained what I believe this leads to, are there measures or going to be measures in place to enforce the compliance of staff and contractors? I mean, will there be speech codes developed in the future? Or do you not think that they will be necessary outcomes of this section? Because I firmly believe that it changes the organisational culture.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Taylor, for the question. In terms of speech codes specifically, no, we don't foresee that specifically being part of what's being implemented here. But look, there's a lot of information there in your background, so I think yeah, we'll sort of take that away and consider properly what you've had to say and that feedback that you have. Obviously, what you see there in the annual report is for council to consider today, but yeah, I think we're best to understand the context of what you've articulated today properly, and then come back to you, through things like council workshop and other forums together to properly consider a response for you.
Thanks, Travis. Further questions, Councillor Moyne?
Through you, Mayor, I just have a question for Councillor Taylor. Do you believe that everybody in our community experiences council services in the same way?
What I'm saying here is I'm not against social justice. It's the critical form that actually says that it's the structures that we have that are systemically racist and want to actually dismantle them. Because if you dismantle them, you no longer have a liberal society where people can have their own thoughts, their own self-autonomy. So it's not about improving services to individuals who may have a disability or come from a different background. That's not what that's why I wanted to give it that full context, because that's not what my concern is. But my concern is the way it's written actually embeds that other way of seeing that will undermine those freedoms.
For you, Mayor, just to clarify, I understand your point of view, but do you feel as everyone in our community experiences council services in the same way?
I'm not quite sure what you're getting at. Do you mean that if someone...
Do you feel as everybody in our community has the same opportunity to experience council services in the same way?
Well, I don't think any individual would. I mean, I don't think I would have the same... I don't think I would experience this council services the same way that you would. But people should be able to access council services no matter who they are. But it needs to be equal access, not equity access.
So somebody in a regional centre needing to travel to Port Fairy for some kind of service only offered in Port Fairy, do they have the same access as someone living in Port Fairy?
It would be much easier to visit the council offices in Port Fairy if you live in Port Fairy.
So therefore, as a council, we need to ensure that everybody in our community has equitable access to services.
I think Councillor Taylor is entitled to hold her position, so it's fairly irregular to have a councillor's position, a councillor question another councillor's
Which
position.
is why I was hoping to clarify where Councillor Taylor's view comes from.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So any further questions in relation to the annual report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a question for Councillor Taylor. I'd like to know her definition of gender equality.
And again, I'll just say that Councillor Taylor's entitled to a position.
Yeah, no, I just want to get her what she means by gender equality. It's got here equality, diversity, and inclusion. Can anybody, can they explain what is gender equality?
I can answer that. I think it depends on the way you see the world. I'm saying that everyone should have, no matter their sex, they should have equal opportunity. But the way this is written is that it's equal outcomes. So that's just what I'm pointing out. And that's my concern. And I just wanted to highlight
It seems to me that we're having a bit of a philosophical discussion around the difference between equity and equality. But I would like, if we could return to the issue at hand, which is the annual report. Do you have a specific question, Councillor Dukas?
Yeah, I do, Madam Mayor. If somebody applied for a job, or no, let's say they're working for the Shire, outdoor staff, because they're more relaxed, those people, and one of their staff members showed up tomorrow and decided they were a woman and dressed as a woman.
Councillor Dukas, I'll just caution you. Remember, we are under a code of conduct to respect all people.
Yes, yeah. Where do we stand with the employment of that person?
Is that we might take that on notice because it's not really relevant to the item before us. I
thought it was because
we're considering
little paragraph. Yeah, but we're considering everything in it, are we not?
All right. Well, Mr. Edison, if that's something you're able to
yeah, through
without notice.
you. Yeah, just if I could ask Councillor Dukas, could you sort of clarify more specifically?
Well, if someone decided they were of a different sex, does that mean we should sack them, or we can't sack them, or are they meant to be treated as the different sex? Where do we stand? Because they've got rights, just as everybody has got rights. But where do we stand in the workplace with that? Because some people have different points of view, and the Shire could be caught, in the middle of an argument that gets nowhere.
It's sounding familiar right now, but Councillor.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So first and foremost, we need to act lawfully. So when it comes to hiring our staff and retaining our staff, we follow the law at the end of the day. So happy to take that on notice to provide more detail if you'd like to understand that.
I'd be happy with that.
Our obligation is to follow the law.
Ms. Robinson, do you want to?
Just to add to Mr. Everstein's comment, I would probably say that a person is employed to do a specific job based on a position description, and sex is irrelevant to that as long as they can perform the job that they're employed for.
Thank you for clarification. Councillor Lockett.
Through you, Mayor, just to remind councillors that we've done mandatory training on these very things, and it's pretty clear, Moyne welcomes you regardless of your gender, age, sexuality, religion, music you like, whatever. We embrace and celebrate diversity, and that's what happens in Moyne.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder. So with that said,
can we put this on the workshop agenda item, please?
I think, yes, that's what the undertaking is.
Because I think I'd like to be clear on what we as a council, our obligations are. Because at the end of the day, it all falls back on councils.
Councillor Ross, you've been waiting patiently.
Just like to thank the CEO and the Mayor and presented this report.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Are there any other questions for the annual report?
Questions, or are you going to get moving second, then ask more questions?
No, that's not the order. We do questions first.
We do questions first. Okay, where am I?
You have some questions.
I do. Okay, now on page 847, Mr. Ralston, we have results there with percentages. Got the page, Craig? Yeah, I know it's a big agenda. It's got adjusted underlying surplus or deficit. And the result for 2025 is a minus 3.91%. Yet in other parts of the document, it's telling us that we're making a profit. Am I reading that correctly?
Mayor, so the adjusted underlying result takes into account, removes capital income. So
it removes all grant money that isn't tied to a specific purpose.
Untied, that's right.
So it's everything the Shire earns.
That's right.
By itself, and any grants that are tied to a specific
Project.
project.
Is backed out of that result. That's
Yeah, and anything that's not tied is part of the general revenue of the Shire. Right, so having said all that, we still made a loss.
That's right, and it also includes, so there's a big adjustment there for the carrying amount of assets that have been disposed of during the year. So that was around just over 5 million. So where we've reconstructed roads, for example, and footpaths and bridges, and disposed of those existing assets through the balance sheet. So that's also an impact.
Right. And it's still a loss.
An underlying loss.
Underlying. All right, and the other one was on 885. Under land bit thin. Non-specialised, level 2, there's level 2 and level 3. What's level 2 and I haven't seen level 2 and 3 before.
You mean, let's just take that one on notice.
Okay, fair enough.
Any other questions?
No, that's enough.
Okay.
If we get any, I can ring Craig up and upset him.
Any councillor wanting to ask any other questions? We have got a recommendation that we consider the annual report. Is anyone prepared to move that? Thanks, Councillor Murray. Seconded, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Relating to equality, diversity and inclusion, it's my understanding for the legislator to adhere to and report on this information. And equity is about fairness, not sameness. Equality gives everyone the same thing. Equity recognises that not everyone starts from the same place. So I'm happy that's in there, and I think we legally have to have it in there, and we have to report on it. So that's that. Overall, I would like to thank all of the council officers. This annual report is a bit of a hybrid document. So it's the closing off of the previous council plan and the implementation and creation of our new council plan. It's a huge amount of work, and I'm really grateful to all of the employees of the great work that we'll do. We dream things up, but they get it done. So I'm very grateful. And just for full transparency, I too may have a potential discrepancy with some of the councillor allowances on page 826, which we will look into and have rectified in future. I think my allowances might actually be a little bit more than is reflected. So I just wanted to make that very clear. Thank you.
Councillor Murray. Councillor Ryan.
I serve my right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any councillor wanting to speak for or against this motion? Councillor Lockett.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll speak for the motion. As we've heard from other councillors, that it's a state requirement, but it's been a massive year in Moyne. Like, I think we should be really proud and hold our heads high of maintaining our assets, our roads. Of course, the roads have been a tricky ongoing thing, but I think we're, punching well above our weight in, maintaining the roads as best we can. Also, the Porphyry Skate and Play project, lighting in Vic Park, there's just to name a couple of projects. It's been a monster year, new council, things are going really well. So I think there's a lot of positivity reflected in that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Any other councillors? If not, you've reserved your right, Councillor
Thank you,
Ryan.
Mayor. I second everything Councillor Murray said. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Murray, do you wish to say? That being the case, 2.13, please raise your hand if you are in favour. Thank you. That is carried 7-0. 2.14 is the draft long-term financial plan, 2025 to 2035. Ms. Regent, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So, councillors, just a couple of minor corrections in recommendation. The word draft appears in front of the officer recommendation, and there's extra in the recommendation we have the word draft long-term long. So we're just noting that there's a couple of extra words in the recommendation that need to be corrected. Councillors, the long-term financial plan was out for public comment for 3 weeks. Council received no submissions during that time. However, we have been able to review the document in that time and have provided a very small update in terms of the resource allocation over the life of the plan. Additional Moyne resources was allocated each year over the life of the plan. The focus of this additional resource will be to support frontline services. So despite these adjustments, Moyne's profit and loss net surplus is 6.7 million over the 10-year period. As you know, this document has been prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. I'll support to you for adoption.
Thank you, Ms. Regent. If we had a crystal ball, we'd know what happens next year, let alone 10. Any questions? Oh, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, through the Mayor. Mr. Ralston, it's just clarification on the comprehensive income statement, item 4.1, page 915 of the agenda. So I note that under the expenses, the materials and services is projected to decrease over the next 10 years, and I just seeking an explanation.
So thank you for the question. So in terms of the plan, it does allow for some savings over the duration of the plan. So we've factored in some assumptions there of savings of around approximately 10.7 million savings across the duration of the plan, and that has been allocated to that materials and contracts number. It's also important to note that the future years are based in today's dollars as well. So that's the other thing to note. So, which obviously doesn't factor into the indexation in future years.
Any other questions? Councillor Dukas.
Thank you. Mr. Ralston, on page 922, financial performance indicators, right at the bottom under efficiency. The question is, the amount that each property pays, is that what they call the total expenses, number of property assessments? So that 5,199 is how much we spend per property?
So it's just an average of our total expenditure divided by the number of assessments.
And under that, the average amount paid is 1,672. So that's the average rate per those same property.
That's right, and that's based on the general rate and the municipal charge.
Right. But no fees and charges in that. All right. So the average household pays 1,600, nearly 17, and we spend 5. You don't. There's no way to cut, say, farmers out, rural land, rural holdings, the average rural holdings compared to the rest of the Shire.
Well, we haven't done in this plan. We haven't
done that, right? Okay, thank you.
Else? Questions?
Thanks, Mayor, for you. For the community and for us, how and when do we update this plan? Because obviously 2035 is a long time away.
Ms. Regent.
Yeah, today's very Mayor. This plan is updated every 4 years. So it doesn't last. We don't wait for the 10 years to come back.
Yes. Thank you.
So every new council term, essentially. Right. Nothing else? So I'll just remind councillors that the draft officer recommendation should read that council adopt the long-term financial plan 2026 to 2035. So I'm seeking a mover for that. Councillor Murray, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Lockett. Did I see you wave your hand? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Murray.
Thank you, through your Mayor. Anyone that can remember back to September council meeting, I actually voted against the draft long-term financial plan. It was specifically to do page 921 of this agenda is our statement of human resources and the staff expenditure. At the time, the previous long-term financial plan had no staff growth, no increase to FTE for a decade. And I felt that was not ideal. I also felt it wasn't a great message to send to our staff that we, as I mentioned before, we kept dreaming up ideas, but we're not actually going to resource or probably fund any of the things that we might be dreaming up. However, hearing from Councillor Dukas and Councillor Ross in particular around the absolute necessity for being clever with money. We have to really watch the bottom line. It's tough times economically. And I think that's, as our CEO said, that's the beauty, I think, of this council in particular. You've got those such as myself who are worried about staff and how we're going to resource things properly. And then we've got you guys sitting over there going, yeah, but we have to be fiscally clever. So we've compromised. I'm happy with what we've compromised and I'm happy to support this.
Thanks, Councillor Murray. Councillor Lockett, second.
No further need. No, very well. Steve.
Thank you. Opportunity now for any other councillors to speak for all of these motions. Councillor Ross.
I'd like to speak against it. Just note that whatever. Just noting the materials, 10 years, long time, the materials are not going anywhere. Zero. We can all agree on that. We're going to raise a little bit more with our rates and charges to 33 million. And then we've gone from 2019, 2020, we went from 245 staff. Then current, we've got 276. And then 10 years' time, we're going to have 287. When we should be going back the other way with AI, with Coastal Connect, a better plant and equipment. So bigger trucks, more trailers, cut a staff member out there with a bigger truck. We should be downsizing our staff numbers. So I'm voting against our plan on those bases that we should be gaining efficiencies with our staff, especially when we've got less grants coming in, less capital works to do.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Yep. Thank you. Any other councillor who'd like to speak for or against? Councillor Dukas.
I too will be voting against it. I just endorse Councillor Ross. You know, they have a statement in here that an allowance for an increase of one full time defies logic. How can you say that? We've got too many staff now. Our population doesn't increase by that much. You can have a population increase of 200 people who don't need any Shire services. So why do we need staff? And as you said, efficiency, the CEO talks about efficiency gains. I haven't seen any efficiency in any of these documents. Maybe next week he can point some out. But some of the figures in here are unrealistic. Seriously unrealistic. So, you know, in the interest of being conservative, which most of you know that I am, I'd just take the attitude of be cautious. That's all. So I really can't support a document that wants to spend more money that we got.
Thanks, Councillor Dukas. Any other councillors wanted to speak? Not, I'll return to, oh, sorry, Councillor Lyon.
I'm speaking for the motion, Mayor, and I'm thankful to see the revised staffing resources included in this plan, which is why I voted against the initial plan at the last OCM. So it's great to see the revised staffing number. Council's workforce is stretched in capacity, holding immense community expectations with limited resourcing. It's a small workforce increase, however, it's reassuring to see acknowledgement of this through a commitment to strengthening the organisation's capacity and supporting the people who keep our services running. Hopefully this paired with efficiency improvements, which Councillor Ross and Councillor Dukas have alluded to, can also support the workforce as well. I've also suggested a change in how we allocate staffing resources, moving away from our FTE count to an overall budget allocation, which I've spoken to Mr. Everstein about. which officers will be working on for operational improvements. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Ryan. Thank you. So I'll return to you now as the mover. Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mayor. I just want to say, I don't disagree with anything that either of you two are saying. We need efficiencies. We've called for asset rationalisation. We have called for service delivery reviews, and that we may actually see the FTE come down if we decide to roll back on any of the services that we deliver. Personally, it's about finding the right balance. I think it's really important that we continue to have these discussions and continue to try and find that right balance. And I am not satisfied at all with the funding model from the state government. I think big changes need to be made, and there's an advocacy point there for all of us. More fully funded positions need to be provided for things that the state government should be doing. If they're going to continue to cost shift, they need to continue to fund them. However, one FTE per year for a decade, I don't think is out of control. And I also don't think that I think we can all feel confident that we have a CEO and an executive leadership team that aren't just going to put staff on for the sake of having staff on. The option and the opportunity is there. We don't need to take it. I just think it's the best outcome. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Murray. We'll put item 2.14 to the vote now. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is in favour is councillors Ryan, Murray, Lockett and Foster, and those against, councillors Taylor, Ross and Dukas. That is carried 4-3. Item 2.15 is the monthly finance report. Again, Ms. Regan, thank you.
Mayor. So council, this report informs council of the financial performance and position of the organisation. It provides a snapshot of key financial indicators of our financial performance at the end of the reporting period. The operating results for September is a net surplus of 17.4 million compared to the forecast surplus of 16.9 million. The variance is primarily due to the unbudgeted income from the state government for the administration of the primary producers support package.
Thanks, Ms. Regent. So bringing our gaze in from 10 years down to 1 month. To be agile when you're a councillor. Any questions? This one. And around the finance report for September. Councillor Ross.
I just had one on general debtors. Childcare and kindergarten, September 24, 10,000, August 25, 30,000, September 25, 32,700. Is there anything can be done to address speakers?
Ms. Robbins,
Councillor Ross, the change in those figures between September 24 and August 25 was due to historical debt that wasn't captured in this system. So it was captured within the early years system itself. Now that that's been updated, that has pushed those debtors up. We are actively trying to work to reduce the amount outstanding in the early years services. And there are policies in place to ensure that families are paying their accounts at the end of the year before they're enrolled in the next year.
Thanks, Ms. Robinson. Any other questions? Councillor Dukas, I feel like you might have one in you.
No, it's too long and drawn out. It's a workshop type of question.
Okay, that's fine. We can discuss it then. If there are no other questions, the recommendation is that we receive and note the financial report. Do we have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Ross, and seconded, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Ross.
No, happy to receive the report. Our report is normal.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Likewise. Any other councillors who'd like to speak to this motion? Not. Do you have anything further you'd like to add, Councillor Ross? Let's vote on this one. 2.15. All those in favour? Is carried 7-0. Item 2.16, procurement policy for 2025 to 29. Ms. Regent, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So this report provides details of the draft procurement policy 2025 to 2029 for Moyne Shire Council. This policy has been updated and brought to you today. This policy strengthens guidance on ethical and compliant use of panel contracts, collaborative arrangements, reflecting their increased role in efficiency and service delivery. The policy has been revised based on MAB best practice procurement policy template and guideline, and is developed in collaboration with the procurement professionals from across Victoria. The Office of Recommendation is before you, and it's recommended that this policy be adopted, and that's attached to the report.
Thanks, Ms. Regent. Are there questions? No questions. So we have an officer recommendation there in two parts. Do we have somebody prepared to move that?
Come on, you Jack in the box.
Councillor Lockett, thank you. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Procedural policy, if you like. It's a very important one. Procurement policy is super important and it sees through to 2029, and we've fleshed it out at workshop as well. So thank the officers for all their work, because we can spend a couple of little minutes here passing it through, but there's probably been God knows how many hours gone into it prior to it coming to us. So we definitely appreciate that work. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Ross.
Yes, Councillor Lockett, we did thrash it out workshop twice, I think. Happy to support it.
Sure.
In this version.
Thank you. And any other councillors who'd like to speak to the motion? Or against? Councillor Lockett as the mover. Item 2.16, all those in favour, please. It is carried 7-0. 2.7, the appointment of a representative to the Australian Coastal Councils Association. Ms. Regent.
Thank you, Mayor. So, councillors, this report provides an overview of the requirements of membership of the Australian Coastal Councils Association, and the timing for the new representative for Moyne Council to be appointed. The committee is made up of 2 delegates from each state, just to note that, and they're elected from the member councils of that state. So nominations close for the membership on the 31st of October, which is why this is brought to you today. The recommendation is that council appoint Councillor Foster, and I'm just going to make a comment about the recommendation just to clarify, as a candidate, potentially instead of the representative from Moyne Shire, as this position goes forward to represent the state, not just the Moyne Shire, as a candidate for the Australian Coastal Councils Association.
Thanks, Ms. Regent. Any questions around this one? No? Okay, so that slightly revised officer recommendation is before us. Do we have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Murray. Seconded, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. You have been our representative, our person for the last little while, and I think for continuity, provided you're still happy to do it, I'm happy to endorse having you represent us. So.
Thanks, Councillor Murray. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd agree with Councillor Murray's comments, and thank you for your dedication to the committee, to the council, because it's super important. You know, we've got a lot of coastal issues with innovation and lots of various things and tip sites and all sorts of things. So it's super important, and wish you well, and hopefully we get you on it. It'll be great. Keep doing the great work here in that place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Any other councillors who'd like to speak for or against? There are not. Councillor Murray is the mover. Thank you. Let's put that to the vote. Item 2.17, those in favour, carried 7-0. Thank you for your confidence in me, councillors. 2.18, appointment of councillor to South West Victorian Alliance Committee. Ms. Regent, once again, thanks.
Thank you. So councillors, this report is brought forward with a recommendation that a councillor is nominated to represent Moyne on the South West Victorian Alliance. The officer recommendation recommends Councillor Foster as representative for Moyne on this alliance. Historically, in terms of making a note, historically the mayor has been the representative. However, there has been a change in the structure of the alliance that allows for a representative being a councillor on that group and not sort of automatically the mayor. So that just is a brief explanation of why the recommendation is slightly different. It could be that it was the mayor, but put that forward for your consideration.
Thanks, Ms. Regent. Questions? Council? Oh, no question. Are there questions? A mover perhaps for this. Thank you, Councillor Murray, and a seconder, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. Probably just copy and paste what I said from the previous one. Again, for continuity, I think it just makes sense that you remain on the South West Vic Alliance, and if you're happy and willing to do it, it's my vote.
Thank you. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Murray's comments. Thank you for your dedication. I think having that continuity, would be, and super important that we have a voice on the committee, which advocates for the region for strength in numbers.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors who'd like to speak for or against Councillor Dukas?
Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Any other councillors who'd like to speak for or against this motion?
I'll speak for it. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. If there are no other councillors wanting to speak, I'll return to you as the mover, Councillor Murray.
Keep it together.
I'm trying. Those in favour? Thank you. Carried 7-0. 2.19, C4 Instrument of Delegation, Delegated Committee. Ms. Regent, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, this report presents the instrument of delegation that's been updated and presented to you today. The recommendation will allow the committee to remain in place. The decision is brought to you within the 12-month period from the council election as required under the Local Government Act. And there are a series of recommendations there to put the delegation into place under section 11(1)(a) of the Local Government Act.
Thank you very much, Ms. Regent. Queries? Okay, I'm seeking a mover then for 2.19. Thank you, Councillor Ryan, seconded by Councillor Murray. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Very operational this one, so happy to move this forward to keep things moving within council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Murray, through you, nothing further. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? I think so. Councillor Wright, would you like me to say that? Thank you. Let's put item 2.9 to the vote. That is carried 7-0. Item 2.20, S18 Instrument of Subdelegation under the Environment. I assume that should say Act. Under the Environment. Let's read my running sheet here.
Thank you, Mr. Truth. Yep. So, councillors, this delegation is brought forward, the subdelegation under the Environment Protection Act 2017. This delegation is relied upon by council staff, delegated in accordance with this delegation to use the powers that are contained within the instrument of delegation to undertake their regular duties. This is updated to include new staff or those now in a position to make decisions in accordance with this delegation. So it's brought forward for adoption.
Thank you, Ms. Regent. Lots of procedural things this afternoon. Are there any questions on this one? No. We have an officer recommendation in 4 parts. And would any councillor like to move that as a motion? Thank you, Councillor Taylor. And seconded by Councillor Murray. Councillor Taylor.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. It's procedural. I'm just happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Thank you. Okay, anybody else want to speak to this? No. And Councillor Taylor, no summation from you. Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour is carried 7-0. Standing through. 2.21 ordinary council meeting scheduled for 2026. Ms Regent, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So councillors, the ordinary council meeting scheduled for 2026 is presented in this report. I'll just note a slight time change to 1 p.m. Going forward in 2026, and it's brought to you for adoption.
Lovely. Okay, we have workshop this one, so I'm assuming there are no questions. I'll just jump. Oh, councillor.
Does it need community consultation?
Ms Regent, are you able to respond to that one?
Through you, Mayor, I'm not aware that it does. We have notification requirements in terms of holding meetings. We have to notify within a particular time frame of the time, the date and the location. This decision allows us to do that within plenty of time.
So the community is not entitled to have their view. Because it's their meeting, open council meeting.
Well, I'd actually challenge that, councillor Dukas. I think this is the meeting of the council, so it's not a community meeting. So I take your point. I do take
it's a community meeting, the fact that it's open to the community.
It's open to the community.
I'm asking the question, should it or shouldn't it? Somebody will have an answer somewhere. But I just thought something like this, the time of the council meeting, it's been changed. Are they entitled to a view? We'd probably go out to them and get one response saying, oh, no, it should start at 12:45 or something.
Or alternatively, we might get 2,000 responses saying all different.
Good, yeah, I'll take a bet on that.
I
just ask the question, that's all. I'm happy the way it is.
Yep.
But it'd be worth thinking about or checking with someone whether it should or shouldn't.
Ms Regent.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So the Act guides us in terms of these requirements, and we are compliant with the Act by giving adequate notice. Making this decision well in advance provides an amount of notice in addition to the statutory requirements. It doesn't mean that we can't at some time through the year make some changes to the schedule or to the time if we find that that's not working for us. The notice period, again, is the most important thing in terms of the legislation.
That doesn't really answer the question I asked. It should have it gone out to the community to gauge their position on it, seeing it's a change. It's actually a policy change. We're going from 2 to 1 o'clock for an open council meeting. That's all. I shouldn't say it doesn't work either way publicly, but it doesn't. But I'm just asking, should it or shouldn't it?
Yeah, I take your point.
Yeah, you can discuss it tomorrow or whatever, or ring Joe Blow somewhere, ring the local government inspectorate or someone, just ask them.
I think Ms Regent has answered the question, but yeah.
Yeah, I can just clarify that there's no requirement to consult. It's just the notice period that's required. So if council were to do anything in addition to that, that's up to council.
You're talking legislative, there's no requirement, but we have a community consultation policy. Our assets agenda item earlier talked about community consultation. Here we are changing the time of their open council meeting with no community consultation. Now, whether we should or shouldn't, or whether we must or mustn't.
Well, you're certainly, you'll certainly have a right to vote against this.
So I'm happy with it. I'm just asking the question, should have it gone to the community for 21 days or whatever?
Okay, thank
through
you.
Proper procedure.
You've definitely asked the question. Councillor Taylor?
Probably the Mayor. Your earlier comment preempted me, and my question to Ms Regent was just going to be, if it did go to public consultation, did you think there would be consensus?
Through you, Mayor, there are a lot of different meeting times scheduled with different councils, across the state, and I would imagine people have their own views based on their experiences elsewhere, and we would have probably a range of responses.
Some would say 6 o'clock, and some would say 7:30 because the kids are in bed. All sorts of things.
I will note that all of our council meetings are live streamed, and they are also available up later. Website, so they're accessible at any time of the day if people feel they need to witness it. Okay, so let's put this one, sorry, I'll need a mover first of all, councillor Lockett, and seconded councillor Murray. Councillor Lockett?
Thank you, Mayor. I think we've got some governance gurus in the building, and it's been clarified that we don't need to have community consultation. Also, if we've got 3 months' notice that the next meeting will be shifting an hour. I think that's more than enough notice for the community to go, oh yeah, it's an hour earlier. And as Mayor Foster said, it's also available live streamed on Facebook and then uploaded to the website. So I think, yeah, we're covering all bases. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Murray.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. There's nothing in the local government, and there's also nothing in our governance rules that say we need community consultation. And we also found this recently with the opening statement. We didn't need community consultation because it's a meeting. I do think it would be good governance practice, though, to ensure we have adequate notification of our community, which I think we have more than adequate notification. And it was me, I was the one that brought about the time change, and it was mainly for, I guess, selfish interests, but also for our staff. Sometimes these meetings do run over, and the staff here are now expected to work overtime and have to drive all the way back to wherever they are. And oftentimes in the middle of winter, it can be dark, it can be dangerous roads. So I think it was a bit of a safety thing more than anything. So happy to second this one.
Thanks, councillor Murray. Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against motion? If not, we'll turn to you as the mover, councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to, thank councillor Murray for the initiative. I think it's a little shift, and we'll give it a go, see how it goes. It'll be good.
Excellent. Okay, let's vote on item 2.21. All those in favour? That is carried 7-0. 2.22, customer commitment. Ms. Regent, the final item for you in a busy afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So councillors, you have before you a draft customer commitment that identifies how we will work with our customers, establish our commitment, and sets the standard of service our customers expect from us. As you'll be aware, we have an existing customer service commitment that was last reviewed in 2022, and the officer recommendation asks council to support community consultation regarding the revised customer commitment, and provide that feedback back to councillors once received.
Thanks, Ms. Regent. Questions? You may be flagging. Okay, so we have a recommendation that we support the commencement of community consultations or the draft customer commitment, which may replace the previous customer service commitment. Is anyone open to moving this? Thank you, councillor Ross. Seconded, councillor Lockett. Councillor Ross.
Always happy to push out a draft for the community. That's it.
Thank you, councillor Ross. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. My summary, something that's always been an important thing for me, council, is that it's doing with, not doing to. And I think that's the guiding principle of this. And also use a sailing analogy, to be the wind in the sails, not the anchor. I think that's, Moyne's open for business. We're here to help. That's I think the summary of this document. And congratulate the officers on the work that's gone into it, because there's many, from the cradle to the grave, we've heard, Moyne, there's so many different services and things we do, but we want to be as helpful as we can across all those services. So it's super important. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Lockett. Any other councillor who'd like to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Ross, would you like opportunity to sum up?
Oh, custom commitment. We're going to get into trouble with this one. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, let's put item 2.22 to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. That's 7-0. Moving to councillors' items. The first one, 3.1, Mayor and Councillor activities, which are set out for you there. Does anyone have any queries to those or need further explanation? 3.2, councillor notices of motion there. None. General matters, do we have any? Councillor Murray.
Through you, Mayor. I'd just like to highlight that October has been Mental Health Month. I think it's always really important to talk about mental health and to promote all of the services we have available to us in our region. And I also want to give a bit of a shout out to a Port Fairy resident, Kate Donnellan. I was lucky enough to attend Government House with Kate last Wednesday for the Victorian Senior of the Year Awards, where Kate was recognised and won in the positive ageing category, which is incredible. She's been recognised on the state stage at the state level for all of her work, both at Community House in Port Fairy, but also with U3A in Port Fairy. That, I hope I have the figures right, but it now has 280 members in the U3A program. So well done to Kate, and I just want to thank her for her work with our ageing community.
Absolutely well said. Thank you, Councillor Murray. Any other general business? Yeah, Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Murray's acknowledgements are a great segue into something that I would just like to recognise, and that was the monthly talk at the U3A last Friday, which was a special event as part of Seniors Month in Moyne. And the guest speaker, Kathy McComish from Justice Connect, who's a senior law specialist, was able to introduce the conversation guide to help giving tips to older people on how to prepare for their future with regard to finances, deciding what they want for their future, and organising who's going to manage those elements of life if the individual is no longer able to do it for themselves. So it was a very informative session. I also wanted to just reiterate from our earlier in our agenda, just congratulations to all community groups who were successful with their grants in this latest round. And good luck with their projects.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Ross.
I've probably off track a bit, but I would like to shout out to all the farmers and hay contractors. The upcoming season and the weather against us, probably going to be a long season into Christmas. And I'd also like to wish the crews good luck of the Transocean Equinox that are out in the sea, 55 k's out from Peterborough with their drilling program. And hopefully they can get lay dirt and the champagne will be flowing. And I encourage them to come and visit one and spend some money with, please.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple from me. Just want to do a big shout out to the Spring Music Festival that was held in Port Fairy on the 10th to the 12th of October. That was a really good event, well attended. It's a world-class festival, and yeah, encourage people to check it out if they haven't been before. And also the Remembrance Day services coming up all across our Shire on obviously the 11th of November. Check out our Facebook and our website. We've got plenty of upcoming details on where they'll be.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Other general business, Councillor.
Yes, the Warrnambool Show. Peter McDonald and Jocelyn Williams. Peter running the sheep side of it, the judging of the sheep, you know, the best ram, the best lamb, the best ewe, the long wool, the short wool, and the cattle, of course. And Jocelyn being an employee of the Shire, done a fantastic job, and they do appreciate the money that we've given them. And I suggested they should apply for the festival and grants funding so they know how much they can get every year. So I'll talk to them about that and send them in to you, Darby. You're the man. Handle it. You might get a bale of wool out of it. Or a leg of lamb. That might be better.
Well, I don't think we take graft and corruption these days.
Or something from a bull.
Through you, Mayor, just a very happy item to raise that Victoria has become the first Australian state to formally table treaty in the state, and it's passed the lower house and it's being discussed in the upper house today. So think Victoria's leading from the front in that regard. So congratulations to us as all Victorians.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Anything else? No? So we'll move to 3.4, which is urgent business, and I don't believe we have any. Good, no. Item 4, the CEO meeting schedule and activities report. Urgent CEO, Mr. Marcus.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the opportunity to provide a brief update to the council. Just conscious of, with firstly the rain that has come in the spring, but certainly a farming and agriculture community, we're very mindful we'll still face a lot of financial hardship coming out of the drought we've just seen. So we go about our business very conscious of that right across our community. On roads, our recent program is now underway, and as we see the temperatures and the rain clear up, we'll see much more activity occur. On the unsealed resheeting program, we're 60% complete at this stage. It kind of pauses now as we now start to focus on made roads, but it'll resume again in April. So we're sort of right where we want to be with that program. Early years, it was mentioned earlier on, but our current enrolments are up 5% year on year. And then you can add another 32 enrolments to that at Roots in Garlock, which is that partnership running out of a council facility there. So really great to see those enrolments continue to be higher year on year with such an important service. Our current key projects, so with the Gibb Street Bridge, we expect to see short-term repairs occur there within the next couple of weeks. So we'll keep the community up to date with what's happening there, but I'm pleased to say we do have a plan now to address what we see there, and then the long-term tender process is underway at the moment as well. So we'll keep the community informed with our key steps there. The Croydon renewal stage 3 is now well and truly underway on Commercial Road and up High Street. So that's a really important project this year for Moyne Shire. So we're really pleased to see that project take off and come to life over the next couple of months. And then, of course, we've got the planting of the trees with the Mortlake Avenue of Honour that's now taken place. So really important project, I know, particularly around the Mortlake community and beyond. Lots of interest in this project, and it's going to be wonderful to restore the entire Avenue of Honour over the years ahead. So this is really just the first key step in all of that. So really pleased to see that occur. Finally, at our Municipal Association of Victoria State Council, all of Moyne's 5 motions were successfully passed. They focused on advocacy and support for volunteerism, standardisation of community benefits from renewable energy, dealing with the funding infrastructure gap that again was spoken about earlier on, particularly with the pre-prep reforms coming. Looking at a better road funding model that more looks at the scale of roads any council faces. And finally, a new funding stream to replace the local roads and community infrastructure program. It's important we see something replaces what's been an important stream of funding in recent years there. Last but not least, thank you to Martin Ganane for another business breakfast run by our events team, and that's been in partnership with Commerce Moyne. Really well attended in Port Fairy, and Martin had a lot of one-on-one interactions with businesses as well. So thanks to Martin for his work with us over the last year. Lots of interaction with particularly retail businesses across Moyne, predominantly Mortlake, Croydon, Port Fairy. So we really appreciate the work that's occurred there. Happy for any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Eversole, another busy month for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Any questions? Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor, I noticed there's been a couple of daycare day closures since our last meeting. Just like an update on what's happening there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to pass to Ms. Robertson to respond.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Unfortunately, we have had a couple of closures. We do try not to close the same room in quick succession to aid families. We appreciate that it is really difficult for families to navigate their work commitments around those room closures. We have experienced quite a bit of staff illness of late with gastro on us. we also have quite a few staff who have children within our services that have had to stay home themselves for sick children. And we, again, sort of dealing with difficulties in recruiting staff to replace some staff that have gone on leave of different sorts or have moved on to other positions outside of council.
Any other questions? Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mayor. Page, good one, must be page 16. Asset financing plan. It says here that consultants have been appointed. When do we get to sit down with these consultants, see what they intend to do?
Through you, Mayor. Councillor Dukas, I'll have to take that on notice. I don't have the date on hand, but we absolutely will be coming in to talk to councillors about the what's included and what we look at in that plan.
Okay. Next page, A-spec project. The words project limitations. Can someone explain to me why there are project limitations?
That's in relation to the coastal connectivity.
It must be. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, which page was that? Sorry, Councillor Dugas?
Page 17.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
Tell me it's a typo, I'll be much happier.
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep,
Thank
a
you.
little bit of that.
Just read some time.
Through you, Mayor, as you know, we're in that transition phase between using existing systems and building the new Tech One system to support a lot of our services. The A-spec product is built with an integration to the system that we're using so that the data that comes through goes straight into our system, and it's appropriate that it goes into the new system and it's built in accordance with the new system parameters. There's really no point them actually building it in line with the old system. So essentially, that's what we're trying to factor in to make sure that this product provides us exactly what we want.
Okay. Are you comfortable with
Yeah,
that?
yeah, thank you.
Any further questions, Councillor Dukas?
I don't think so, Madam Mayor.
There are no other questions for the CEO meeting schedule and activities report. That brings us to the end of our open meeting, and I'll call for a motion to suspend standing orders so that we can consider the one confidential agenda item. Councillor Murray, seconded Councillor Ryan. All those in favour? Thank you, that is carried, and I thank those watching online and in the gallery.